All right, welcome back to the Disturbing Illusion channel here on YouTube and High Impact Flicks on both Rumble and the X platform. We're going to jump right into this, but I just found before we watch this exchange in the Oval Office between Zelensky and Trump and Vance, you have to understand, and I will repeat this until the end of time. Politics is nothing more, nothing less than a sideshow. It's a circus stage show. Politics is the clever and deceptive art of using euphemisms, lies, emotionalism, and fear mongering in order to dupe average people into accepting and even demanding the chains of their own enslavement. It's not enough for Americans and people around the world to just accept government's policies and edicts and control. You have to demand it. They want you begging for it. And that's what we're going to see here with the exchange between Zelensky and Vance and Trump. And before we get into this, and we will watch this in its entirety with some comments along the way, and we're going to read some pretty interesting comments in the comments section under the counterfeit communist news network called CNN. But I want to read to you what Donald Trump said about this meeting, specifically after the meeting. He said, we had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. It's amazing what comes out through emotion, and I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. I don't want advantage. I want peace, says Donald J. Trump. He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace. And there are intense moments in this. We're going to pick up at the very beginning here. I think I had it queued up and I just messed it up. Yeah, let me, we're going to start at the very beginning.
Sort of much to give a lot of stops.
Appreciate you guys being here. Hit the thumbs up, share this video with everybody you know. We are streaming live on X, on Rumble, and on YouTube. Got everybody scrambling around, getting ready to get the tight shot. Remember, what we're about to see, the White House wants us to see. The United States government wants us to see. The military-industrial complex wants us to see. The mainstream, fake stream, CIA-infiltrated Operation Mockingbird media wants us to see this. This is for entertainment purposes.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have President Zelensky of Ukraine. And we've been working very hard, very close. So we've actually known each other for a long time. We've been dealing with each other for a long time and very well. We had little negotiation spat, but that worked out great. I think for both countries, I think for the world, actually, beyond both countries. And we have something that is a very fair deal. And we look forward to getting in and digging and working and getting some of the rare earth. But it means we're going to be inside, and it's a big commitment from the United States.
Getting the rare earth.
Working with you very much. And we will continue to do that. We have had some very good discussions with Russia. I spoke with President Putin, and we're going to try and bring this to a close. It's something that you want and that he wants. We have to negotiate a deal. But we've started the confines of a deal, and I think something can happen. The big thing is the number of soldiers, mostly at this point, but soldiers being killed. You're losing thousands of soldiers. So on both sides, we're losing a lot of soldiers, and we want to see it stop. And we want to see the money get put to different kinds of use, like rebuilding. And we're going to be working very hard. But we've had a lot of very good conversations. I will say until we can.
Let me just remind you, Trump, who claims to be concerned about soldiers and loss of soldiers, dropped more bombs in his 4 years than Obama did. He dropped an average of 46 to 49 bombs per day. Obama could only muster 35 to 37 per day. Donald Trump increased the coffers of the military-industrial complex. If you're interested in lowering body counts, you don't increase the coffers of the military-industrial complex at a minimum.
Came along, the Biden administration didn't speak to Russia whatsoever. They didn't speak to anybody. They just allowed this to continue. And I will say that, I'll say in front of you, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, if I were president, this war would have never happened. We would have had a deal negotiated for you without having to go through what you've gone through. But your soldiers have been unbelievably brave. We've given them great equipment, but somebody has to use the equipment. They've been unbelievably brave, and we give them great credit. This was supposed to be over very quickly, and here we are 3 years later. So I give tremendous credit to your generals and your soldiers and yourself in the sense that it's been very hard fighting, very tough fighting. They're great fighters. And you have to be very proud of them from that standpoint. But now we want to get it over with. It's enough, right? We want to get it over with. So it's an honor to have you here. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to sign the agreement at the conference.
Thank you for that super chat, Lisa.
While, right after lunch. And we'll be having lunch together. We're also discussing some other things. And we appreciate everybody being here. It's somewhat of an exciting moment, but the really exciting moment is when they stop the shooting and we end up with a deal. And I think we're fairly close to getting that, and an honor to have you. And please, I'd like to say something.
No, thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you for invitation. And really, I hope that this first document will be first step to real security guarantees for Ukraine, our people, our children. I really count on it. And of course, we count that America will not stop support. Really, for us, it's very important to support and to continue it. I want to discuss it with details further during our conversation. And of course, the infrastructure or security guarantees. Because for today, I understand what Europe is ready to do. And of course, I want to discuss with you what United States will be ready to do. And I really count on your strong position to stop Putin. And
in other words, I want you to pillage from the American people so that you can help us win the war. Now, we know what Europe's going to do, but we're interested to see what you Americans are going to do. Who does this guy think he is? Remember, let me just remind you, Zelensky is a comedian / actor. Donald Trump is an actor. All the world is indeed a stage, literally.
And you said that enough with the war. I think that is very important, Ben, to say these words to Putin at the very beginning of war, because he is a killer and terrorist. But I hope that together we can stop him. But for us, it's very important to, to save our country, our values, our freedom and democracy, and of course, no compromises with the killer about our territories, but it will be later. And of course, what I wanted, we spoke about it by phone with you about the drones production. We have very good drones production. I think the best one in the world for today because of the war. Yes, and of course, we need very much the air defense. You have the best air defense in the world, and really you helped us under attacks of Russians. And I want to speak how we can exchange the licenses. We're open to share the licenses of all our drones with you, of course, with the United States. And we need licenses for quick production of air defense. Even after the war, we need our nation to be calm, that we are secure. So that's why we need this air shield. And of course, about this, I want to speak about the contingents. I think that France and UK already spoke to you, and we know that Europe is ready, but without the United States, they will not be ready to be as strong as we need. And then the last point, last not least, about exchange, about our people and children. And you know that this crazy Russian, that they stolen 20,000 of children, Ukrainian children. They changed their names. They changed their families, relatives, and now they're in Russia. We want to bring them back, and really, it's a big dream, task, and goal for me, and our warriors. By the way, Mr. President, we released more than 4,000 warriors from Russian prison, but there are thousands more in the prison. I wanted to share with you some images. How it's. Just can I now?
Yeah, please.
Some minutes, 1 minute. I just you to understand in what circumstances, in what situation they are, and what the attitude of Russia to our prisoners. That guys, just you before and after.
Mm.
And you see before and after, just you to understand. Now thousands of such guys, ladies and men, there, and that, so they don't eat, they beat them, and they, do a lot of, bad things. So out of, even during the war, there are rules. Everybody knows there are rules during the war. These guys, they don't have any rules. You see that 50, 60 kilograms left, and a lot of such things. And I didn't want to show you what the changes with images of children, because I will share with you. And I mean, it's looking tragic.
Yep, that's tough stuff.
Yeah, I wanted very much to give you, and you see it.
Yeah.
This is Pastor.
We want to show you horrible pictures so we can gain sympathy from America so you can shovel more money and military equipment our way.
By the way, they stolen pastors because it's not Russian church. They stolen pastors and moved pastors to the prison. We, at the end of last year, we brought 3 pastors, and we could exchange them. And this is pastor, you see.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. So I mean, this I wanted to show you, and this. So thank you very much.
We want to get that ended, right?
Yeah. Of course, we
And I
want.
think we will. And
We have to, of course.
do you have any questions, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. With the, how much money is the U.S. going to put into the fund that is being created today, and how does this provide long-term security for Ukraine?
Well, we don't know exactly how much because we're going to be putting some money in a fund that we're going to get from the raw earth that we're going to be taking and sharing in terms of revenue. So it's going to be a lot of money will be made from the sale and from the use of raw earth. And as you know, our country doesn't have much raw earth. We have a lot of oil and gas, but we don't have a lot of the raw earth. And what we do have is protected by the environmentalists, but that can be unprotected, but still it's not very much. They have among the best in the world in terms of raw earth. So we're going to be using that, using it for all of the things we do, including AI and including weapons and the military. And it's really going to very much satisfy our needs. So it's something that just worked out really well. We have a lot of oil and we have a lot of gas. We have a lot, but we don't have raw earth. So this has just about every component of the raw earth that we need for computers, for all of the things we do.
And
This puts us in great shape.
And on long-term security
I think he means rare earth. Does he keep saying raw earth?
for Ukraine. How does this provide it?
I think they're going to have great luck. I think once we make the agreement, that's going to be 95% of it. They're not going to go back to fighting. I've spoken with President Putin, and I feel very strong. I've known him for a long time, and I feel very strongly that they're very serious about it, and we'll make a deal. And when the deal is made, I don't think we talk about security. Everyone's talking about the other day. All they talked about was security. I said, let me make the deal first. I have to make the deal first. I don't worry about security right now. We have to have a deal because right now, last week, 2,000 soldiers died on both sides. 2,000, and they're losing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 a week. So as we sit here and we talk, people are getting shot and dying on the battlefield. And, they're not American soldiers, but they're Russian soldiers and they're Ukrainian soldiers, and we want to be able to stop it. And we want to be able also to spend money on other things. We don't want to, this is a tremendous amount of money. And what the Biden administration did was terrible. They were giving money, but he had no security on the money. Europe, as you know, gave much less money, but they had security. It was in the form of a loan. They get their money back, and we didn't. And now, at least we're protected because the American taxpayer has to be protected too. But this is an incredible agreement for Ukraine because we have a big investment in their country now. And what they have, very few people have. And we're able to really go forward with very, very high-tech things and many other things, including weaponry that we're going to use in many locations, but that we need for our country. This allows us to do that.
Just to give you an idea, Ukraine is estimated to hold about 5% of the world's total reserves of rare earth elements, a group of 17 metals crucial for high-tech applications like electronics, batteries, and defense systems. And apparently, they hold 20% of the world reserves in graphite and 7% of global production in titanium, just as a couple of examples.
Yes, go ahead, please.
If I can just, yes. In the
Let me give you the worth of that. The estimate of Ukraine's mineral wealth, it does vary, but the Ukrainian government and some analysts suggest that it totals up to $11.5 trillion for all crucial minerals. This includes oil, gas, and other resources beyond rare earth. So, that's why America has an interest in shoveling a whole bunch of money and military equipment to Ukraine. Just don't let anybody fool you about this. It's not about creating peace. It's about creating opportunities to generate more wealth and really undergird the petrodollar, which is failing all across the world. And nobody wants to talk about that.
One of the very important points, if we speak about business and investment, we never had LNG terminals in Ukraine. This document will open. I mean, the next documents, but anyway, here we see in the framework, we see really goodwill for this. LNG terminals for us is very important, and I think for security of European continent. We have the biggest storage, gas storage. We have the biggest in Europe. Yes, and we can use it. Use it for LNG, use it for LNG, and we will do it. And really, we can help Europe because Europe really helped. President Trump said that they made less support, but they are our friends and they are our very supportive partners. They really gave a lot, Mr. President. They did.
They gave a lot, but they gave much less.
No.
Much less.
No. At least no.
No. Okay.
Let's look at this again.
Much less.
A lot. Very supportive partners. They really gave a lot, Mr. President. They did.
They gave a lot, but they gave much less.
No.
Much less.
No. At least no.
No. Okay.
That's just weird. Yeah, let me remind you, just like the World's a Stage said in the chat, these are both actors. All the World's a Stage, they are actors and they are acting under the umbrella in the big top of politics, which is the deceptive art to get you and I to just be slaves, to just be servants, to shut up, don't question the program.
Mr. President Trump, you have repeatedly called the deal with Ukraine as a historical one. And as a president of the United States, you make historical decisions in other issues which affect America and other world. So what place in the world history do you want to take? And do you associate yourself with any famous historical figures?
Yeah, I'd say George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. I would say I'm far superior to George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. Now, I'm only kidding, right? Because when I say that, the fake news is going to go wild. They're going to say he considers himself to be better than Washington. But you never know. You never know. I don't compare myself to anybody. I'm here to do a job. We've had a great 35 days or whatever it might be, a month, a little more than a month. We've accomplished tremendous amounts. Not only this would be a very great achievement if we could get the war stopped and get them back to normalization. I think that's going to happen. We've had very good talks on both sides, as you know, but I think we've done a very good job. Just generally, if you look at all of the things we've done in 30 days, they're saying there's never been a opening for a president. The first month, there's never been a first month like we've had. And this is one of the very important things. This, to me, is one of the most important things because we have tremendous death taking place as we speak. And I don't want to have that. Think of the parents, whether they're in Russia or Ukraine, think of the parents of all these people being killed needlessly.
They came to our territory.
Should have never started. This would have, if I were president, this would have never started.
Mr. President, will you continue sending military aid to Ukraine after the U.S. signs this agreement with Ukraine?
Yeah, we're
The
going to be
question to
continuing.
President Zelensky: do you feel like the U.S. is on your side? That the President Trump is on your side at this moment?
What do you think?
He wants to know, do you think that, sort of a stupid question. I guess we wouldn't be here if I wasn't.
Now, this is one of those things that I like about Trump. Yes, all the world's a stage. This is a circus show with a bunch of clowns under the big top. But I like the break with regular political decorum. And so do a lot of people, but that's what draws them in. And then they can't separate. See, what happens is this illusion is created. It's like, hey, this is an out of the box thinker. This isn't a regular politician. This is a guy who really wants the best for America. And then they get swept up in it because this is the things that he says, how he goes about it, what he says in condemnation of corporate media or seeming condemnation of corporate media really resonates with a lot of people. And then the switch is flipped. Their minds are turned off. And now critical thinking stops because, God, this guy's funny. He's relatable. He seems like he's rolling up his sleeves and getting down in the trenches for the little guy. And he's calling out corporate media. He's saying the things that if I was sitting in that chair, I would say. So now we have a bunch of mentally neutered Americans, 70-something million of them, according to the polls, that have just turned their minds off and said, make America great again. Hey, get Elon Musk. Let's just call it dark Gothic MAGA. Let's bring in the devil's champion, a transhumanist who wants to bring online and decimate us with carbon taxes and universal basic income. What a great idea. It's got to work because we can relate to Trump and he says things out of the box that we want. For decades, we've wanted somebody to come in there and just loosen their tie, roll up their sleeves and be like we would be. This is the appeal of Donald Trump. And this is the psychological operation that is working these days. And you can't let your guard down. It's no measure of good mental health to be considered well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society. It is still a profoundly sick society, whether you're being ruled by a Democrat or ruled by a Republican. Let me just ask you, do you want, what boot of tyranny would you rather bearing down on your neck? The red Republican boot of tyranny or the blue Democrat boot of tyranny? Or instead of staying in that cemented in that false dichotomy, maybe you don't want the boot of tyranny. Well, if that's the case, then you better start critically thinking about Donald Trump, just like you thought you were critically thinking about Barack Obama and Joe Biden and the Clintons.
I think that the United States on our side from the very beginning of occupation, and I think that President Trump on our side, and of course, I'm sure that the United States president will not stop support. This is crucial for us. It's important for us. Yes. And Putin, the president speaks about the people and the soldiers which are dying, but they came to our territory. They came to our land. They began this war and they have to stop. And I think this is.
They began the war. Have Americans forgotten about a crucial element? What happened to Nord Stream 2? Who was threatening to cut off that pipeline? Just look it up. You know, we have AI. You've got Google. Look up who threatened to damage the Nord Stream pipeline. Guess who it was?
The question was really the most important question. Can President Trump, I hope yes, with some other allies to stop Putin, withdraw these enemies, our enemy, withdraw these troops from our land? And I think that you asked about the history. I think that if President or when he will stop Putin, if President Trump will bring peace.
Let's engage a little bit with the chat. Adam says, if you can't see that Zelensky is just trying to defend his country from being destroyed by this a-hole neighbor, I don't know what to tell you. What do you guys think about that? Should we just take Zelensky as just a Ukrainian patriot who wants to protect his homeland from advancing Russian forces? Is that how we should see Zelensky? Or should we see him for the actor / comedian that he actually is? Is he a puppet dangling from the string, just like Donald Trump and Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Ronald Reagan were all puppets dangling from bankster strings? There are central banking interests that control all of these state-funded actors, and they are benefiting. The only reason we have a war in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine, is the same reason we had a war between the United States and the Middle East, the United States and Vietnam, the United States and Korea, the United States in World War I and World War II. All wars, bar none, are bankster wars. Who benefits? Key bono, who benefits?
This to our country, I think he will be on this wall in time.
We've had very, very good talks.
What about military aid to Ukraine?
President Zelensky just said that there'll be no compromises with Vladimir Putin. I just wanted to ask both of you. Firstly, are there compromises that you think that President Zelensky is going to have to make? President Zelensky, is there anything that you might be thinking that you may be able to offer or bring to the table, for example, elections? Thank you.
I think you're going to have to always make compromises. You can't do any deals without compromises. So certainly he's going to have to make some compromises.
Let me just ask you this, Adam, and we'll resume with this. You have F Putin as your thumbnail. Do you also say F Zelensky, F Trump, F all presidents of all countries who are decimating their people through the central banking cartel? The central banking cartel owns all of these puppets. A politician is just a political front man for a bigger nefarious thing happening behind the curtain with bigger, badder forces that are animating the whole thing.
But hopefully they won't be as big as some people think you're going to have to make. That's all. That's all we can do. I'm here as an arbitrator, as a mediator to a certain extent between two parties that have been very hostile, to put it mildly. They've been very hostile. There's been a vicious war. There's been a vicious war. You know, it's a very level battlefield, and those bullets go out. And as I've said many times, we were talking about it with Pete, many times the only thing stopping those bullets is a human body. And in the case we're talking about, generally young human bodies are stopping a lot of bullets. It's dead level. That's why it's great farmland. It's great land. It's great farmland, but there's very little protection against the bullets that are being, and other things that are being shot. So all I can do is see if I can get everybody at the table and get an agreement. I think we're going to end up with an agreement. Otherwise, I wouldn't probably be even here today.
Mr. President, I've got two questions for you. You think ultimately your legacy will be the peacemaker and not the president that led this country into another war and ended foreign wars? And I've got a question.
I hope it will. I mean, I hope I'm going to be remembered as a peacemaker. This would be a great thing if we could do this. I'm doing this to save lives more than anything else. Second is to save a lot of money, but I consider that to be far less important. So I hope I'm going to, thank you, Brian, for that question. It was a nice question. I hope I'll be known and recognized as a peacemaker. This would be a great thing to solve. This is a very dangerous situation. You know, this could lead to a third world war. This was headed in the wrong direction. If this election were lost.
All right, we got to talk about this. Rights don't get enforced. Like, how do you enforce the right to freedom of speech, freedom of the press, a right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed? You don't force any right. You protect rights. And Adam says the government doesn't give you your rights, but it enforces them. You don't enforce rights. The government is supposed to be here to protect rights, not enforce anything. The government is supposed to be here to throw down people who would violate your rights. That's the whole reason the government is supposed to be formed, according to the Declaration of Independence. Life, liberty, property, the pursuit of happiness, it's all supposed to be protected by government. But what does government do 100% of the time? They are the ones who are violating your rights because they can't be questioned. There's no competition. There's no rival force that can rival the force, especially of the federal government. or the state governments for that matter. They have unlimited resources, virtual unlimited resources to deploy against you if you question their authority. And if you question that, look at my YouTube channel. Here's the deal, where we expose corrupt cops who are constantly violating your rights. You can't walk down the street. You can't have a camera on a street corner pointed toward a bank without getting harassed by cops. You can't drive 7 miles an hour over the speed limit as the cops, drive 30 miles an hour over the speed limit and then hypocritically pull you over under some corporate traffic code where your rights, 100% of your rights, are suspended. Think about that. The US government does it. The state governments do it, the local governments do it, and there's a political class and there's a law enforcement class. And the law enforcement class enforces and imposes the draconian, nefarious, evil laws that politicians set in motion. As a matter of fact, I would venture to say that the law enforcement officials are more evil than the people who write the evil down on the pieces of paper, because they're actually animating what the words say. Oh, the government says that we can go through your pockets, force you to take off your belt, take off your shoes, and put your laptop in the bin, and empty your 3-ounce shampoo bottle at airports across the nation, so we can violate your right to be secure in your person's houses, papers, and effects in airports all across the nation. Where's the politician standing up going, hey, this has got to stop? It's been going on for 20-something years. Over 2 decades, you have zero rights in American airport terminals all across this country because of political parasites, because a government who isn't enforcing your rights, isn't protecting your rights. Besides that, guvernum mentis is to control the mind, or mind control. That's what government is all about. They are about controlling you against your will and without your consent, period. If anybody's got an argument against that, I would like to hear it, because government and government officials reserve for themselves the right to tell you what to do. And if you disobey, they reserve for themselves the right to punish you for your disobedience. So they view it as they have the right to tell you what to do, and they feel you are obligated to obey their edicts. That's what government is. That's what government's always been, and that's why it is inherently immoral.
We didn't win this election, and we won it by a lot. That was a mandate. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. We won everything. The districts, you look at the areas of red, take a look at a map. This was a big mandate, and this was one of the things I said, we're going to get this thing settled. If we didn't win, I think this could have very well ended up in a third world war, and that would not have been a good situation. What was your second question?
And my second question for President Zelensky: why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest. Why don't you wear a suit? You're the highest level.
What a dumb question.
And you refuse to wear a suit.
What a dumb question.
Do you own a suit?
Yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not
Really?
respecting the dignity of this office.
I will wear a costume. after
How
this
shallow.
Finish.
Okay.
Yes, maybe one.
Maybe something like this.
Something like yours.
sir.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe some.
See, that's what Americans are concerned about. You are disrespecting the decorum and dignity of this office by not wearing a suit. How shallow can you get? As children are dying and are being thrown through the grist mill in Gaza, thanks to the United States government, thanks to the Israel government, somebody's worried about a guy in an office not wearing a suit. You see the psychological operation? The psychological operation is emanating from Zelensky. It's coming from Donald Trump. It's being broadcast by fake stream CIA infiltrated Operation Mockingbird, MK Ultra Media, and nobody seems to care that there are greater Mount Everest size issues while somebody's dealing with a little piss ant hill of wearing a suit in the sacred Oval Office. Does anybody have a problem with Zelensky not wearing a suit? If you have a problem with Zelensky not wearing a suit, drop your comment in the chat.
Then, yeah. Thank you.
President Trump. Thank you, President Trump. You said yesterday that you have.
Are you going to send more arms to Ukraine in case there's no peace?
Yeah, we're going to have arms to Ukraine. Yeah, sure. Hopefully, I won't have to send very much, because hopefully we're going to have it finished. We're looking forward to finishing.
We're going to send arms to Ukraine. That'd be like you sitting in your neighborhood saying, yeah, we're going to extract a whole bunch of money from a whole lot of our neighbors who don't want money extracted from them so that we can buy weaponry to give to the gang members next door so that they can be heavily armed at the expense of my fellow residents in my neighborhood. Sure, we're gonna protect the defense contractors. That's what you're saying when you're saying, yeah, we're gonna give arms to Ukraine. We're gonna we're gonna fleece the American tax cattle, and then we're gonna enrich the defense contractors on behalf of the military-industrial complex, which is run by Israel, and we're gonna give all those arms to Ukraine. Well, who benefits? Not America. America's not benefiting from this arrangement in Ukraine.
This quickly. We're not looking forward to sending a lot of arms. We're looking forward to getting the war finished so we can do other things. But we very much appreciate the agreement because we needed what they had, and we're treating, our country is now treated fairly. Biden didn't do that. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. This should have never happened. This should have never started. But, sure, the answer is yes, but hopefully we won't have to send much because I'm looking forward to getting it done quickly, very quickly.
Does that mean you'll provide security guarantees, Mr. President?
I don't want to talk about security yet because I want to get the deal done. You fall into the same trap like everybody else. A million times you say it over and over. I want to get the deal done. Security is so easy. That's about 2% of the problem. I'm not worried about security. I'm worried about getting the deal done. The security is the easy part. Security is very nice. Everybody stops shooting. And now will Europe put people there? I know France is going to. I know the UK is going to. I know other countries are going to, and they happen to be right.
So people who are thinking and making a big deal. See, I don't think the suit is a big deal. People are dying. Arms are being sent. Money is being wasted. The currency is being inflated and devalued. And when you're devaluing the currency, you are sticking your middle finger up at all Americans, and you're devaluing the product of their time and labor. Having a suit or not a suit is pretty irrelevant. Who cares? Now, the people are making the point in the room. Well, if you're going to go beg for more money, maybe it'd be a good idea for you to live as the Romans. When in Rome, do as the Romans. So I get that aspect too. And there's nuance for everything. But as far as I'm concerned, the suits and the ties just add to the illusion, and it doesn't add to or take away from the illusion for him to come in a Ukrainian jumpsuit, to me.
Right next door. We haven't committed, but we could conceivably, we have security in a different form. We'll have workers there digging, taking the raw earth.
Clown suits would definitely be appropriate. I completely agree. They should take juggling lessons, and there should be face painting in the Oval Office, and everybody should have a clown face. I agree with that.
So that we can create a lot of great product in this country. So in that sense, you have something, but we haven't determined.
You guys are good. Clown suits and jumpsuits. I agree.
That yet. I will say, in speaking to France and in speaking to, and they were here, as you know, last week and just the other day, they have committed to a lot of security. I don't think you're going to need much security. I think once this deal gets done, it's over. Russia's not going to want to go back, and nobody's going to want to go back. When this deal ends, I really believe this deal is going to be.
Caitlin Collins from CNN is on it, man.
Be over.
So she said Zelensky was shaking his head. Let's go back to it a little. Let's back up like 15, 20 seconds.
This week and just the other day, they have committed to a lot of security. I don't think you're going to need much security. I think once this deal gets done, it's over. Russia's not going to want to go back, and nobody's going to want to go back. When this deal ends, I really believe this deal is going to be over.
Caitlin wants to agitate.
Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, thank you. You hosted Macron and Keir Starmer at the White House this past week, both of whom praised your courage and conviction to lead the pathway towards peace.
Yes.
Part of that involved, though, re-engaging Russia in diplomatic relations, something that previous leaders lacked the conviction to do so. What gave you the moral courage and conviction to step forward and lead that?
Well, I love this guy. Who are you with?
One American news, sir.
Well, that's why I like him. One American news.
There you go.
I like the question. I think it's a very good question.
If you want put a 1 in the room if you want to open up this discussion to a live chat and a call-in show later on. Let me know. And if we do this, I want we got to keep it on topic. Okay. No rambling or anything like that. If there is rambling, I'm just going to let you know up front. I'm going to cut you off. But if you want to, I'd rather hear from the other side, the pro Donald Trump side. Why is he the best man for the job? So if you want to do that, and I've got 692 overall for the people watching. If you want to open it up to a live chat, live call-in show, let me know.
It's a pathway to peace. It's a pathway to getting something solved. And I feel that as the head of this country, I have an obligation to do that. Plus, we're very much involved. We got involved. It's too bad we got involved, because there should have been no involvement, because there should have been no war. And there shouldn't have been October 7th. That would have never happened. As you know, Iran was broke. They had no money to give to Hezbollah. They had no money to give to Hamas. They were stone cold broke. And then under Biden, they became rich as hell. They went from no money to $300 billion in a period of 4 years. And they gave a lot of that money away. And you see what happened. And that's a real mess also that we hope to be able to solve. But no, I appreciate your question very much. I feel I have an obligation to try and do something to stop the death.
If I can answer, yes, if I can answer, sorry, please.
And I do like your clothing, by the way.
Yeah, really?
Even though I think he's a great guy, by the way. But I don't know if you two like each other, but you know what? I think he's dressed. I
like this guy.
I think he's dressed beautiful.
So I have more serious things than answer on such
Yeah,
questions.
sure, that's
I will
okay.
answer on more serious
That's a good
questions
statement.
if I can. Yeah, so please, about security guarantees and about just ceasefire. We can't just speak about ceasefire and speak. It will not work. Just ceasefire will not never work, because I'm like a president. I have this experience, and not only me. Ukraine before my presidency, from the 2014, Putin broken 25 times. 25 times he broken his own signature. 25 times he broken ceasefire.
But he never broke to me. He never broke to me.
No, you were the president. You were the president
He
during.
never broke to me.
In 2016, you've been the president, Mr. President. You've been the president, but he had, of course, not with you, but he had during those periods, he had conversations with our side, and we had Normandy format, the France, Germany, Ukraine, and Russia, and he broken 25 times. That's why we will never accept just ceasefire. It will not work without security guarantees. Security guarantees, maybe President.
Oh, stay tuned, guys. If you haven't seen this, it gets really, really heated. You're going to see things being said in the Oval Office on camera that are really unprecedented. This doesn't mean that I don't think it's all made for TV, because it is, but it is fascinating. So stay tuned. It's just barely ramping up right here.
Is right about this document and other, but this document is not enough. Strong army is enough, because his soldiers afraid, Putin's soldiers afraid of our soldiers when we're strong enough. If we are not strong enough, if we are empty, if our storage is empty, we can't defend our land. Today, he knows that we have all the world knows that we have meeting. Yes, why he's using ballistic? Putin today using ballistic on our hospitals, schools, and it says ballistic. So he knows that we are here, and that President Trump is really have goodwill to stop this war. And you hear now the president. So why he's using? So he doesn't want to stop. He doesn't want. But I hope that we will do it. Really, we'll do it. Security. When we speak about security guarantees, when the Europeans are ready for contingents, they need USA backstop. If there will not be United States, we will not never have any contingents, strong contingents from the Europeans, because they don't want to divide alliance connection between the United States as the main and strongest ally and Europeans. And this is crucial. This is important. That's what we want to speak about very much. This is very important. And air defense. So air defense, really, we have big deficit with all these systems, and we need to provide this. We need it very much. Otherwise, Putin will never stop. and will go further and further. He doesn't want. He hates us. You know. It's not
Hey, Cesario, please don't spam, man. I said we're going to open a live stream later, but please don't spam the room. I appreciate it.
about me. He hates Ukrainians. He thinks that we are not a nation. He thinks, and he shared these thoughts. I think maybe with your team also. I don't know. But with all the Europeans, in media, officially and not, he always said that there is no such country, such nation, such language, and such life like Ukrainian. No, he really doesn't respect all the Ukrainians, and he wants to destroy us. And you are right, Mr. President. That's 2%. This document, maybe other documents, it's a very good start, very good, but it will not enough to stop this person.
Should Russia pay to rebuild Ukraine?
Mr. President, under these
Should Russia pay to rebuild Ukraine?
They have to pay.
This question.
This is the rule. This is rule of the war. This is the rule of the war. During all the centuries, all the history, this is the rule of the war. Who began, those pay.
Do you agree
This
with
is the rule. Putin began this war. He has to pay all money for innovation.
Yeah, it wasn't NATO. It was Putin. I'm not on Putin's side, but I'm also not on NATO's side. And I'm not on Israel's side or the United States side or the Ukrainian side on this. I think everybody should leave everybody else alone. And it is not incumbent upon Americans to cough up the cash to send the military hardware to Ukraine to defend themselves in case they get into a conflict. Just like it's not Europe's job or China's job or Iran's job or anybody's job to make sure that if we get attacked, they come over and help us.
Has to pay. Of course, some Russian assets, what we have in Europe, about 300 billion, we can use them. We can use for innovation and buy military support from the United States also. We can do it, but it's not enough. It's not enough.
Because I want to know.
Wait 1 second.
I asked this question that you didn't like because I wanted to know if you want to position yourself in the middle between Russia and
Yes.
Ukraine or on the Ukraine's.
No, I'm in the middle. I want to solve this thing. I'm for both. I want to get it solved. And it's wonderful to speak badly about somebody else, but I want to get it solved. If we can solve it,
It's wonderful to speak badly. What's he talking about?
great. If we can't solve it, they're going to have to fight it out, and who knows what's going to happen. But I want to see it get solved.
May I follow up? One more question about U.S. troops in Europe. After Russian invasion of Ukraine, your predecessor sent additional troops to Eastern Europe, including Poland, my country.
Yeah.
Are you committed to keeping these troops on the eastern flank of NATO in the future?
I'm very committed to Poland. I think Poland has really stepped up and done a great job for NATO. They, as you know, they paid more than they had to. They are one of the finest groups of people I've ever known. I'm very committed to Poland.
What about Baltics?
Poland's in a tough neighborhood, you know.
What about the Baltics?
The Baltics, they got a lot of, it's a tough neighborhood too, but we're committed. We're going to be very committed, and we're committed to NATO. But NATO has to step up, and the Europe.
There you go. We are committed to NATO. Really. Why are we committed to NATO? Why don't we just mind our own damn business? Why don't they mind their own damn business? Let's get out of all these tangling alliances.
Europeans have to step up more than they have. And I want to see them equalize because they are in for far less than we're in. And they should be at least equal. You understand that? Why is the United States, we have an ocean in between. Why is the United States in for so much more money and other things as Europe? With that being said, and as you said, they've also been obviously very helpful. But we have put in far more than they have.
Yeah, because it's a money, according to some, hey, what do I know? I'm not an expert here, but according to some, this whole Ukrainian conflict and the shoveling of piles and mountains of cash and military weaponry, it looks like it might be a money laundering scheme. Oh, I don't know. Didn't Zelensky say, hey, there's of the 177 billion that we were supposed to be sent, there's about 101 billion that we never got in military equipment or in cash. So where did all that, if what Zelensky's saying is true, and I'm not saying I trust him or anything, but think about it, 177, almost $200 billion. How long does it take for 100,000 Americans making $50,000 a year to equal $200 billion? That's a lot of people. That's a lot of manpower. That's a lot of labor. That's a lot of money. Where did the money go? How come we can't find it? Where's the audit for that, Doge?
And I think they should equalize.
Mr. President,
Yeah, please, go ahead.
ask you about the agreement again today. What changed between the first time that Secretary Bessent gave President Zelensky the agreement and today for the signing?
We made a deal. So
What was the
I'm just-
deciding factor?
I'm a business person. We made a deal. That's what changed.
Mr. President,
I didn't think we were going to make a deal. And we ended up making the deal. So that changed.
Mr. President, what and how do you envision a trilateral summit with President Zelensky and Putin?
I don't know,
under
but
these
it's, well, they
circumstances?
don't like each other. I can tell you that. They do not like each other. This is not a love match. And it's unfortunate. That's why you're in this situation. The United States should not have allowed this to happen. Okay? The United States, run by a man that didn't know much. I'm going to be very nice. Run by an incompetent person, very incompetent person, should never have allowed this to happen. I've stopped wars. I've stopped many wars. My people will tell you.
Now here's the psychological operation here. Biden should not have allowed this to happen. Biden wasn't in control. If there was ever a president where you could prove that they are absolutely not in control, it would be Biden. So who was running the country? Are you going to tell me you think Kamala Harris was running the country, or the Zio International Banking Cartel members running the country, as they always do? And if you question that, I urge you to go onto YouTube and find out where Alan Greenspan said, hey, it doesn't matter what the relationship is between a Federal Reserve chairman and a president of the United States. It doesn't matter what the relationship is between Congress and the United States or the Supreme Court. It doesn't matter if it's executive, judicial, or legislative. What the Federal Reserve says, that's what goes. If there's a conflict, we got a problem. So it wasn't Biden who's in control. It's not Trump who is in control. Trump is merely taking orders and calling shots that he hears from the real shot callers. Nobody rivals the power of the Zio International Banking Cartel. That's the reason why Doge is only picking leaves off of the corrupt tree when they should be taking an axe and hacking at the roots. They're not even close to the roots. They're at the very end of the very smallest branch, picking off the very smallest leaf in this corruption pile. That's how you know Doge isn't on your side, because they haven't done anything about the Federal Reserve. They haven't done anything about the IRS. They haven't done anything about the income tax. They haven't done anything about the property taxes. They haven't done anything about the military spending. They didn't go after the Pentagon first. They didn't do anything about the relationship, the noose that's around our neck through Israel. That's how you know they're not your friends, because they're not doing anything to support the product of your time and laboring energies. Until you stop the sieve that's leaking from these right here, you ain't doing jack.
I stopped wars that nobody ever heard about. I stopped wars before they ever started. You can look at some of, I could give you a lot of nations that would tell you right now they were probably going to war. I could tell you.
Exactly, Erica. It's all optics. This is about to get heated, okay?
Right now, there's a nation thinking about going to war on something that nobody in this room has ever even heard about. Two smaller nations, but big, still big. And I think I've stopped it. But this should have never happened.
Mr. President.
About sorry, just a second. About any negotiations. First of all, I want really to tell you, and I think that everybody understands that modern Ukrainians, nobody wants to stop this war. But at the future, any negotiations, it's understandable that two sides of the war, not Russia and the United States, because this is not the war between Russia and the United States. This is war of Russia against Ukraine and Ukrainian people. So these two sides will be at the anyway will be at the negotiation table. Then, of course, United States, like the strongest partner of the Ukraine, and of course, Europe. I think Europe is very important. I want to speak about it with the president. Yes, Europe is very important for us because we really defend Europe for today. All Europeans really recognize that we are defending the line, and they have real life, and our people are dying. That's why they helped us. And also, it's about the NATO. Yes, between, like the president said, you have big, nice ocean. Yes, between us. But if we will not stay, Russia will go further to Baltics and to Poland, by the way. But first to the Baltics. It's understandable for them because they've been in the USSR. You know, they've been one of the republics of the USSR, and Putin wants to bring them back to his empire. It's a fact. And when he will go there, if we will not stay, you will fight. Your American soldiers, it doesn't matter, do you have ocean or not, your soldiers will fight.
Mr. President, would you be willing to visit Ukraine, maybe Kyiv or Odessa, which is going to be a third year of the Black Sea?
It was my question.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to talk about Odessa now. Let's not talk about Odessa. I want to talk about making a deal, getting peace. We don't have to talk about Odessa, but a lot of cities have been destroyed. A lot of cities that are not recognizable. There's not a building standing.
No.
And a lot of
things
have
Mr.
to
President,
happen.
you have to come and to look. No. We have very good cities. Yes, a lot of things been destroyed, but mostly cities alive and people work and children go to school. Sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes closer to front line, children have to go to underground schools or online, but we live. Ukraine is fighting and Ukraine lives. This is very important.
Yeah, come into this war zone like Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell and all those people did. They went into a war zone, guys. You believe that? They jeopardized, they flew into a war-torn Ukraine that was getting incessantly bombed by Russia. Can you imagine? Wow, I believe everything mainstream media says on that.
Maybe it's Putin is sharing this information that he destroyed us. No, he lost 700,000 people. 700,000 soldiers. He lost everything. Yes. So,
Mr. President, one more. I mentioned Poland.
Please, go ahead.
When did you last speak with President Putin? And what did he say that?
A couple of days ago.
And what did he tell you that gave you the assurance that he wanted peace?
Well, that's what I do. My whole life is deals. I know pretty good. And I've known him for a long time. I've dealt with him for a long time. He had to suffer through the Russia hoax. You know, Russia was a hoax. It was all Biden. It was nothing to do with him. So he had to suffer through that, and he was able to do that.
Before we continue with Trump, I bet not one reporter, so-called journalist, will ask Zelensky about the Azov battalion. What do you want to bet?
I think that he wants to make a deal, and he'd like to see it end. That's all I do. That's what I do. My whole life, that's what I do is make deals.
Yeah, but stay tuned, WCMW, because it's about to get really heated here.
And I'm in the middle of a mess because this is a real mess. It's a very dangerous one. If this doesn't get solved now, it's not going to get solved for a long time. So I hope we're going to get it solved. In the back, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Prime Minister Starmer claimed repeatedly that his government believes in free speech and was not engaged in censorship. But his country's government arrests people for memes and thought crimes, and even more worrisome is pressuring American companies to censor Americans on its behalf. How can he be a reliable, trustworthy partner when he says things that are demonstrably false on such an important topic?
Well, we actually spoke to him about that yesterday, and we thought they took it very, very much too far. JD was very strong on it. So was I. So was Marco. And we've been speaking to him about it. Marco, would you like to say something?
Marco, little Marco Rubio.
With the conduct of theirs, particularly as it impacts Americans. And there's real concern that Americans.
Oh, look, a special appearance by little Marco Rubio, the little guy.
Speech, which is online, could fall into the hands of British or any country's jurisdiction. And so this is a point the Vice President made at Munich, and I think it's a very compelling one, that what unites us with Europe, as much as anything else, is these shared values, and one of them being free speech. And so if Americans are threatened by it, we're going to need to take action in that regard.
Mr. President.
It's actually a very important question.
Here we go.
We spoke about this in detail with the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, and others at lunch yesterday.
Here we go.
And I know that Secretary of Commerce Lutnick followed up in private meetings last night. This is really important. We believe Americans have the right to speak their mind, even if we in this room disagree with them. They have the right to speak their mind in the public square, which is often online these days. And we're going to defend that right as it pertains to American companies and American citizens vigorously if we have to. I do think that under the president's leadership, we're going to find common ground with our friends in the UK on this question, but it remains to be seen. The principle that will guide us is we believe in free speech in this country and we'll fight for it for American citizens.
Mr. President, on the deal, is there any other oil and gas component to the deal? Is it all
A
critical?
little bit, we'll see,
On LNG?
but we're not really looking for that so much. We got a lot. We have more than anybody in the world by far. So no, we're not talking about it too much, but a little bit. I think it affects also, but for the most part, no.
And sir, is there any agreement from Ukraine to purchase US LNG as part of the deal, or is that on the table at all?
No,
Some of those-
we don't need that.
Some of
Mr.
those
President, I
minerals
just
are in
wanted
the
to ask
east,
you
Mr.
about,
President.
you just mentioned that you'd spoken to Vladimir Putin a couple of days ago. Just to be clear, that's a new call, not the one that you
I've spoken to him on numerous occasions.
Okay. And how was the latest call? What did you discuss? How did it go?
Are you serious with that question?
I am, I'd love to know.
It went well. I think we're going to have a deal.
On the minerals deal, Mr. President, some of those minerals are in the east of Ukraine, not far from the front lines and in areas that Russia has occupied. Will you direct President Putin to withdraw his forces from those areas if there's U.S. interest?
Well, we'll take a look at the time. We have a lot of area. It's a very big area we're talking about. So we'll take a look. I'll study that and I'll see.
And who would protect those minerals if they are U.S. interests? Would that be Ukrainian
They'll be
forces?
protected. The
European
agreement will protect them.
U.S.
The
forces?
agreement, yeah, we're signing an agreement. You know?
Right, but what if Russia tries to invade or there's Russian aggression in those spots?
I just told you, I don't think that's going to happen. And if that were going to happen, I wouldn't make a deal. If I thought that was going to happen, I wouldn't make a deal.
Some people may wonder
You know,
why.
they ought to focus on CNN on survival, not asking me these ridiculous questions.
That's pretty funny, man, because you could tell that's Caitlin Collins' voice from the Counterfeit News Network.
Focus.
I mean, this is corrupt as the day is long, but you can't say you're not being entertained with Trump. He's definitely an entertainer.
On surviving, because CNN's got such low ratings, I don't think they're going to survive.
I don't think they're going to survive. Not CNN, not the Communist News Network. No, sir.
Let's go. Please, go.
One more. I already mentioned Poland. Poland was under Russian control for decades after the Second World War. When I was a kid, I looked at the United States not only as a most powerful country, richest country in the world, the country that has great music, great movies, great muscle cars, but also as a force for good. And now I'm talking with my friends in Poland, and they are worried that you align yourself too much with Putin. What's your message for them?
Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, "Hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal?" That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with.
Actually, it does work that way, and Trump believes that has worked that way. He has said some majorly harsh things against Biden. Biden has said majorly harsh things against him. Same with Trump to Obama, Obama to Trump. And yet when they get in the same room together, they're all jokey, buddy, let's smile for the camera. So he knows that's the way politics works, whether you're negotiating away from a war or whether you're slamming the Democrat or Republican Party. That's the way politics works. That's what keeps people coming back from war, entering the big top, buying the popcorn and the soft drink, taking a seat, and never standing up to voice criticism for both sides when each side wants you to participate in the cult of personality. As long as their rulers ruling you, that's what they want you to be satisfied with and actually call for.
The United States of America and for the good of the world. I'm aligned with the world. And I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
Hey, I want to respond to this. So look,
Here we go.
for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden.
I agree with that.
Puffing our chest and pretending that the president of the United States' words mattered more than the president of the United States' actions.
But there will be no diplomacy for the Gaza Strip.
What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Here we go.
Yeah.
This is it.
Okay.
This is
So
it.
he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 and
2014.
Yeah. So
I was
he killed,
not here.
yeah, but
That's exactly
but-
right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, yeah, the situation the same. The people are been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire, all of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's
Oh.
disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring it into this
Have you
conflict.
ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President.
Oh.
Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have
And
problems.
do you think that it's
I will
respectful
answer.
to come to the Oval Office
I
of
will
the United
answer.
States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions.
I mean, you talk about an entertaining sideshow. If JD Vance is anything, he is a well-articulated human being who can convey his thoughts with piercing clarity. So he's got Zelensky right here back on his heels, accusing him of taking people on propaganda tours, which is exactly right. Now let's hear him answer. This is epic JD Vance here.
Let's start from the beginning. Sure. First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know that.
bless. You
Don't-
will not
you
have
gotta-
a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's exactly
Remember
what
this.
you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right
From
about
the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I was
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
Right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think
You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can.
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country's
Can I-
in big
can-
trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid president, $350 billion.
You
We
voted
gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and your
voted
men
for
are
your
brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military.
Oh, he just pushed him.
If you didn't have
Oh, he just pushed him. He just laid his hands on him. Look at this. Okay. How much of this is made for TV? How much of this was rehearsed beforehand? Because Trump, if Trump is anything, he is a media mogul. He knows what pushes buttons. He knows what gets views. So is it possible? I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I'm not privy to that kind of information. But is it possible that Trump, Vance, and Zelensky behind the scenes said, hey, the last 15 minutes of this thing, we are going to have fireworks because we are going to have ratings. We're going to bring all the eyes of the entire world on this thing right here. The people want a show. We're going to give them a show. We're not going to enter the three-ring circus and not give anything to anybody who's buying the popcorn and the soft drinks in the stands under the big top. We're going to bring out our best clowns. We're going to put on our best suits. We're going to have the best juggling act. How much do you want to bet that that's what happened? But he laid his hands on him, which brings it to a whole new level of unprecedented actions. Watch this, because it appears as though Trump is getting frustrated to the point where Zelensky keeps talking while he's talking, and Trump can't have that, so he's going to push him a little bit.
We gave you military equipment, and your men are brave, but they had to use our military. If you didn't have our military equipment,
there it is right there. We're going to watch it again. Yeah, we gave you military equipment. How about this, President of the United States? If you're the leader of the free world, say, how about this? How about this, Zelensky? Why don't you get the hell out of my office? And you ain't getting any more military equipment. As a matter of fact, you need to put those rare earth materials onto the market, and you need to pay us back. Trump just said something about $350 billion. I heard $177 billion. Zelensky says he didn't get $101 billion of that. Watch the push again.
We gave you military equipment, and your men are brave, but they had to use our military. If you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times to American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a
with
ceasefire
guarantees.
because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
That
what
wasn't
is-
with me.
It
That was with
wasn't
a guy named Biden who was not a smart person.
This
That
is
was
your-
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make
Uh,
because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do you do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that.
This is going to be great. They even say it, guys. They even say it. So you have television personality and comedian Vladimir Zelensky and television superstar Mr. Art of the Deal Donald Trump and Palantir acolyte JD Vance up there giving you the show of shows straight from the Oval Office. And then they say this is going to be great TV. They just dangle it in your faces, guys. Listen.
All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that.
Wow.
All right. We'll see what we can do about putting it together. Thanks, sir.
I need the back of the
We'll see. I don't
Guys, come on.
Now let's go behind the curtain and have a beer. Let's split the bounty with us in this money laundering scheme called, there's Caitlin Collins right there. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open it up to, let's see, let me do the invite link. Let me copy this link. Let me paste it here. I want to hear from especially the detractors. Okay, here's the link. And I don't want anybody to take a whole lot of time because I want to get to as many people as I can. Ghost of Tacos Past, looks like you're pro-Trump. Adam McLean, if I'm mistaken, let me know. Adam McLean, Johnny Cage, and Severe Storms look like they're pro-Trump. I want to hear from the pro-Trump crowd, okay? I don't want to lock ourselves into an echo chamber. Again, here's the link right here. We're going to do a real quick live call-in show. I want to get to as many people as possible. Please don't try to run out the clock. Don't talk about something other than this Zelensky-Trump-Vance meeting. I want to talk specifically about this right here. I'm seriously, and this is all in good faith, okay, guys? We all want a better country. We want a better America. We want to retain the wealth that we go out to earn for ourselves and our families. We don't want, $10 a dozen eggs and $50 a gallon, milk. So we're all on the same page, I hope, in that we want a better country. Now we have different ways of going about it. We have different perspectives. We have, all. And another thing we have to admit here, let me just make sure that I identify this link right here. See if you want to call in live. And let me just copy that just so we can put it in the chat. There we go. I am going to pick the people who are pro-Trump first, okay? Just to let you know. So you might be waiting for a second if you're not pro-Trump. Again, let's have a conversation. Let me know what you guys think. So again, a special invite to pro-Trumpers. I want to know why you're pro-Trump, because I saw a couple comments from several people. I don't remember who they were, saying that, hey, Trump and JD Vance are pro-America. And I want you to state your case and give examples, bring the receipts. I didn't vote for Trump, but you have to admit. So, and by the way, thanks for the super chats. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the dialogue. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel. This is the Disturbing Illusion on YouTube, High Impact Flicks on X, High Impact Flicks Official on Rumble. I didn't vote for Trump, says Garca Media, but you have to admit that if you want a better country, we have to stop funding wars like the one in Ukraine. I agree, because when you spend resources that go to other countries, then you can't spend those resources on us. Besides that, even if we were just spending the resources on us, there's massive waste, fraud, and abuse. I totally agree that waste, fraud, and abuse should be uncovered, but is Elon Musk the guy that you want doing it? And let me just remind you who Elon Musk is, what Elon Musk is all about, and who has promoted Elon Musk in the past, namely the World Economic Forum. And there's a really simple little graph right here. Obviously, I post a lot here on X. Again, if you're not on X, go over there. I've got one person waiting. It's Cesario. And I know he's anti-Trump. He's got his eyes open to what's going on in this world. I really want to spend a lot of time talking to people who are pro-Trump. I'm going to give you guys a minute. All the pro-Trump people, there's the link right there. I want to hear your side of the story. Remember, Elon Musk is somebody who wants the carbon tax. It's high time there was a carbon tax. You can go to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he says multiple times that we got to have a carbon tax for everybody. We got to tax everybody for the carbon that they use. That's only fair. That's only right, says Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. He's for UBI, Universal Basic Income. As a reminder, I'm in favor, I don't know why he put that in quotes, of Universal Basic Income. mRNA CLOT shots. To be clear, I do support VAXXs in general and COVID 1984 VAXXs specifically. The science is unequivocal. He's transhumanist. He wants the Neuralink brain chip. Ghost of Tacos Past, welcome. How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
Good. What did you want to say?
Honestly, I just wanted to say that I appreciated the way that Trump handled what I consider to be a bad person and a bad actor on the world stage, and that what happened today was exactly what I voted for.
And why did you vote for Trump?
I voted for Trump because I wanted the world to, for lack of better terms, bend the knee, to understand their place and our place and start acting like it, instead of this fantasy that we've been living since the 90s that everybody is equal, which is obviously not true.
What makes Trump different from, say, the presidential politicians of the past?
He seems to have honor and integrity in a way that is more real. Like with Obama and Clinton, you had backdoor deals and all sorts of things that everybody knew that there was stuff going on behind the scenes. And with Trump, we're seeing the backdoor deals. Chickens come home to roost, to quote Obama era people. So that's what I like about Trump so far.
Who do you think is responsible for a higher amount of national debt in the shortest amount of time, Obama or Donald Trump?
Oh, I know that's Donald Trump.
I mean, that's not something you voted for on that, right?
No, no, but I can see the bigger picture there.
Can you enlighten us on the bigger? Are you talking about there's a positive side to having a larger national debt?
No, no, there's not. I can see how Trump was finagled into a position where he had to do that.
How so?
Well, with COVID.
Well, the 8.4 trillion doesn't really count that though. I'm trying to keep the 6.2 trillion stimulus under the CARES Act out of it. Aside from that, he got us into 8.4 trillion by increasing the coffers of the military industrial complex over 10%. And that's part of it. Like the national defense, the DOD got, a pretty big part of that. But aside from that, he increased the national debt higher than Obama did in 9 years.
Right. But what was the purpose and what is the end goal? That's the real issue.
What was the purpose of getting us into 8.4 trillion in national debt in 4 years?
Yes.
You're asking me, or do you know?
I have a theory, but what do you think?
I can tell you, I don't have to tell you what I think. I can tell you what I know. $8.4 trillion in national debt actually spiked the first 2 to 2.5 years of the inflation under Biden. It was directly as a direct result of the economic policies instituted by Donald Trump. So when you have economic stimulus like $8.4 trillion in national debt flooding the M2 money supply, you automatically devalue the product of people's time and laboring energies, which is a direct result of Donald Trump's 4-year term.
Right, but what do you do if the coupon that you're using is worthless and you have to convince everyone that coupon is worthless?
Are you talking about the coupon of the Federal Reserve note?
Yes.
So you're saying Donald Trump had a strategy of the reason he did the $8.4 trillion is to convince everybody that the American dollar is literally worthless?
Yes. I think that he's an old school Republican, and he's still pissed about FDR doing away with individual people owning gold. He hasn't even got to Nixon yet.
But how does that benefit Americans, though?
In the short term, it doesn't. In the long term, it does. In the long term, it ensures that you have a standard good currency. In the short term, it means that you have to, for lack of a better word, eat the shit that you laid on the bed.
Well, actually, though, doesn't it decimate all the holders of American currency?
Yes.
How is that tantamount to being a friend and a good American? Because you're actually stealing wealth. You're devaluing time and labor of every single American.
But it's fake wealth, like you just said, because it's already not real.
Well, we understand that, but still, you have to work harder to buy that dozen eggs. You have to be longer away from your family.
Yeah, for a couple of years, for sure.
Right, because we know there's no intrinsic value, but there is perceived value, and as long as there's perceived value, you can actually buy things that are valuable, like you can buy gold, you can buy silver.
Value anymore.
Right, but wouldn't you rather have perceived value of dollars strengthening instead of weakening?
Right, and you do that by destroying the lie initially.
But you're saying in order to destroy the lie, we have to destroy a whole lot of Americans' lives in the process. How is that just?
Oh, because they got fake money on the way up. I mean, it's too bad you can't have your position all the way through the end, but we're trying to roll through things that aren't what you perceive as the end.
So you can't have Donald Trump as the ruler and the leader of the free world getting up there behind the podium at the Oval Office and saying, here's the deal with the American dollar. Instead of devaluing it, we want to tell you what the state of affairs is and why it even has perceived value because it's hooked to the petrodollar. And here's what happened with King Faisal back in the 1970s and OPEC and Nixon, and he closed the gold window. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to strengthen the value of your dollar, because we're going to have actual backing. But instead, you're saying that basically this 5D chess move of devaluing the dollar is going to help Americans see that the dollar is actually worthless so we can implement another plan? Is that what we're talking about?
Kinda. I think you're. I disagree in a way with the way you're constructing it, but I agree with the end result.
Okay, well, I'm just asking a question. I'm just asking, like, what's the real deal there?
I think the real deal is that there's going to be two currencies, and one that's going to be used internally in the United States and another one that's going to be used externally. And there's going to have to be a value that is issued towards both of these currencies. And the current system is a lie and has to be exposed.
So what you're saying is something that looks really, really bad, i.e. $8.4 trillion in increased national debt and the devaluation of the dollar, is actually a really, really good thing in the long run.
Kinda. Because $8.4 trillion in debt doesn't really mean anything. You remember when that congressman offered that bill up to just issue a coin to China that was worth $3 trillion. Like, here's a coin. Good luck splitting it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, it is theater in a way, but it's not gonna matter.
No, I agree. I agree. It is theater and it is a psychological operation, but it's a psychological operation that works its way. What's that?
Sorry about my hair.
Sorry about your what?
My hair.
Oh, I'm not even looking at the screen. Sorry, I got something else in front of me. So what you're saying is, okay, I see you now. So what you're saying is the devaluation of the dollar through Trump's policies that increased the national debt and devalued the product of everybody's time and labor and energies, which it did, which has real world results. Now, I agree with you that it is a psychological operation. It is theater, but some of those psychological operations and some of that theater, like a good part in politics, has a direct impact on how long we have to work, how long we have to stay away from our kids to, actually accrue the wealth so that we can buy,
But
necessities
that has more
like
to
food.
do with your deal with your boss than it does with the president of the United States.
The price of eggs?
No, it has more to do with your deal with your boss than it does with the president of the United States.
You mean the boss that you work for?
Yes.
No.
The value of your dollar, the value of your time, is between you and your boss. It's not between the president of the United States and the president of China.
No, that's apples and oranges, and I'll tell you why. Because you're talking about amount versus value.
No. I'm specifically talking about value. I don't.
The value of your dollar.
I don't want to cuss on your program, but I don't give a crap about minimum wage. I care about how much eggs my dollar buys. I care about how many dollars that it takes for me to feed my kids. I care about how many dollars it takes for me to pay my mortgage. I don't care about really anything outside of that. So when I have a problem with feeding my kids or paying my mortgage, I have to talk to my boss. I have to talk to the people around me.
So that he can give you more money?
Yeah.
But the reason he has to give you more money is because the people in Washington devalued your dollar. Now you have to make more of these to buy what you used to buy, which means
that's not really my problem as a peasant, though. My issue as a peasant is to push shit uphill. So if it costs me more money to buy eggs and I demand more dollars, then that's a problem for him to present to his boss.
So the crooks can devalue your dollar and engage in coin clipping, but it's your boss's fault that your coins don't buy as much as it used to.
Hey, he's in with the crooks, right?
Who, the boss? Your boss?
Yeah. He pays taxes. He pays taxes. He makes special deals with the local government. He makes sure that the police patrol his parking lot. He makes sure that he doesn't get charged with, normal crimes that everybody like I do.
Wait a second. Yeah. Wait. You're talking about voluntary versus coercion. Your boss does not voluntarily pay taxes. He pays them through coercion. And one of the reasons he has to, and one of the reasons
he gets a big benefit from those taxes, though.
No, if he doesn't participate in the game, he gets punished. That's the
no,
if
he doesn't participate in the game, then he has to face me and my friends when he doesn't pay us right. So taxes are his protection money that he pays to the state.
The protection racket money.
Yeah, from me.
You're making him pay the taxes?
I'm making him pay me.
No, you're not.
Oh, I don't.
You talking about an employer-employee relationship?
Yeah.
There's nobody making anybody do anything. That's a voluntary arrangement. When you sign on the dotted line and fill out your application, you are agreeing to make this much.
Yes.
And your company is agreeing to pay you this much.
Yes.
If you don't want to continue making that money, or you think it's too little, then you can go find another job, or the boss can give you a raise.
Oh, I know a magic word. Force majeure.
I'm asking, before we go to the next thing, you do agree that you working for your employer is a voluntary arrangement. There is no coercion there.
No.
So they're making you work there for that wage. They're forcing you to work there.
Okay. I'll agree with that.
Right, but you and your boss have an arrangement. You agree to it, they agree to it. At the point at which you disagree, you part ways, and nobody's forcing a gun at your head. However,
no. That's where the difference is. Because like if me and my boss make an arrangement that he's going to give me 5 dozen eggs a week and 4 loaves of bread, and but he doesn't give me 5 dozen eggs a week and 4 loaves of bread. He gives me, X amount of coins to get that. And then when it comes time for me to get paid and I go to the store and those coins aren't worth that, then my agreement with my boss is null.
That's not true on its face.
Like how so?
Because he's agreeing to give you an amount. He's not saying I'll give you this amount as long as it maintains this value.
Oh, but that's why I agreed to that amount, because that's what that is. Because that's what that's worth.
Now, if you want to say, wait, hold on a second. Wait. I want to stay with what you just said. If that was in the agreement, which I've never seen an agreement, all I've seen is, hey, this job will pay $17.50 an hour.
Oh, I agree. Labor agreements are screwed. I agree with that. Yeah.
Right, but I'm just saying you're trying to say something that it doesn't exist. I've never seen that. Now, if you've seen that,
no, I'm talking about facts. No, it does exist in facts. I agree to work for minimum wage because minimum wage keeps me fed. If minimum wage doesn't keep me fed, then the agreement to work doesn't matter anymore.
Then how is it incumbent on your boss to pay you more if you can't keep yourself fed at the current agreed upon wage?
Because he occupies my time in such a way that is supposed to keep me fed. That's why we made the agreement in the first place.
Wait, the agreement, what if you mishandle your money? Is he responsible for that too?
Nah, in a way, he can be.
Wait, if you misallocate your money by buying alcohol and cigarettes and now you can't put a roof over your head, you're basically saying it's your boss's obligation to make sure that you get even more money so that you can put a roof over your head.
No. What I'm saying is if I make an agreement with my boss for X amount of shekels, so that way I can afford alcohol, cigarettes, food, and blah, 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 and the price changes for all of those things, then my agreement with my boss on the base level is just null. It doesn't work anymore.
That's not true.
How is that not true? That's
that's
the base agreement of the reason why I agree for $7 an hour is because I can buy a pack of cigarettes after my first hour. I can buy my McDonald's lunch after my second hour, and I can buy gas to get back and forth on my third.
Where is that reasoning articulated in the contract?
Oh, when we agreed to a certain amount of dollars to hour. That's what money is. Money is the agreement on what your time is worth.
Right. And the amount.
So if the value of money changes, then my agreement with my boss changes about the amount of money that he pays me.
I can't believe that you can't see that makes no sense. You're literally telling me it is your boss's obligation to make sure that you have enough to make ends meet.
No, it's my boss's obligation to keep up.
No, that is
all right. No. I think
that is what
your point. I think that's your point.
Yeah, that is what you said. Because
Yeah.
it's your boss's obligation. Okay, let's say I'm going to work for $10 an hour. Your boss doesn't say and you don't even say in the application process, I will work for $10 an hour as long as that $10 an hour can continue to feed, clothe, and house me.
But isn't it? There has to be a base level of assumption for a contract to work, though. So if I agree to work for $10 an hour, then that means we both understand what $10 an hour is worth.
I disagree with your statement. I disagree.
No?
There's no base level of assumption and agreements. That's why you have to draw out everything in the contract. You have to exclude assumptions.
So a contract that ends with a money flowing between parties is essentially worthless, and it doesn't matter as far as value is concerned.
No, only amount, not value. Not value.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, let's put it this way. Okay, $10 in 1962 could buy me 250 comic books at 10 cents a piece.
Right.
Now this same $10 can only buy me like 1.5 comic books because I've seen some of the prices on these are like $5.50.
Right,
So
but in 1972, I could hire a kid to pack groceries for $10. But I'm just saying. What I'm saying is this is the base reason of the contract. No, in 1972, I could spend $10 to pay a kid to pack groceries all day, and he could buy 172 comics or whatever, and that would be worth it. But nowadays,
let me finish my point. Your boss only said he's going to give you $10. He didn't say he's going to give you enough to buy 250 comic books.
Oh, okay. All right.
He just said, I'm going to give you $10, whatever that value is worth. Now, the thing that I have a problem with on Bernie Sanders is that increasing minimum wage doesn't really help. It actually makes things worse because it thrusts people into unemployment. Let's say I'm a small company that has 10 employees. Now, Bernie Sanders says the 10 employees that I agreed to pay $15, now let's not use it. $12 an hour. I agreed to pay 10 employees $12 an hour. And Bernie Sanders says, we've just made a law. And now you have to pay your employees $15 an hour. Now you got to comply with the law or you're going to get in trouble. So now I got to make a decision as a business owner. Hey, I only agreed with these people to pay $12 an hour. And your employees will come. And then you go to your employees and you go, hey, I got to make some cuts. I got to cut 4 of you out of here because I can't afford 10 people at $15 an hour. I can't afford 10 at $12 an hour. And all those employees come to you and go, no, I want to keep working for you. Please don't fire me. I'll work for $12 an hour. And you're like, well, I kind of can't do that because if I do that, and even though we have an agreement, I'm going to get in trouble. So that you're agreeing on the amount, but not the value.
So is it okay if I employ like an illegal or somebody who's on the run from the law or something for an under the table wage?
Of course. It's what does a third party have to do with you and I making engaged in a business transaction? This is what I have a problem with on the drug war.
Okay.
If you want a bag of white powdery stuff, and you've got the money to pay me for the white powdery stuff, what business is it of a third party, call them government or whatever, to get in between yours and my transaction? You and I are adults, right? We're not kids. We don't need parental supervision. So if you got the money to buy my white stuff and I want your money more than I want my white stuff, there's the transaction right there.
But that's kind of apples and oranges too, because if you've got the money to pay one person a livable wage, but instead you pay 2 or 3 people a slave wage because they live together in the same apartment, like I have a right as a person who would be getting the livable wage to have a problem with that.
It's not my responsibility as an employer to give you a living wage. It's my responsibility to live up to the terms of the contract, period.
Okay. I agree with that. But the terms of the contract will change if the value of the contract changes.
You mean the value of the money agreed upon in the contract? Where does it say that? Now, if it says that in the contract, yes, the employer is obligated to fulfill that contract. But I've never seen a contract.
I'm just saying, like, morally. Like, if all of a sudden the dollar just, like, it costs $100 for a loaf of bread next week, you would feel perfectly fine and obligated morally that you paid me $275 for my 40 hours of work last week at $7.25.
I think that is a huge exaggeration, because if bread went up, if bread went up to $100, everything changes. Everything. Like, the company will probably no longer be in business if bread is $100. Because now, see, and there's macro and microeconomics, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know all the ins and outs or even a fraction of the ins and outs, but I do know that there's dovetail effects and there are dramatic effects. Now, when you get to a Weimar Republic Germany, where the value of the dollar changed hour by hour, it's like here's the $150 for that loaf of bread. It's like, well, I can't sell it to you because now it's $250. When you get to that point, you've got economic collapse. But if you're talking about this gradual inflation over the past, let's say 70 years, or how about 113 years since the advent of the Federal Reserve?
Where my dad could afford a house and go send his kids to college on one person working at a factory, but it takes two people right now to just buy food.
Right.
That would mean that the base level of the contract is wrong. Like it's broken. It's a force majeure at that point. That's what I'm saying.
But who are you and who are I to say that contract is wrong if the people who signed the contract both still agree to it?
But I don't still agree to it. That's my point.
Then you
because I'm going to my boss and I'm saying you have to pay me more because the dollar's worth less. And my boss says no, we agreed.
What if he says I see what you're saying, but we did agree to this amount, and I really can't afford to pay you anymore? Then what do you do?
Oh, find his fucking house.
What?
Find his house.
And do what?
You know.
So you're literally going to threaten somebody's life?
Yes. If somebody tries to take food out of my family's mouth, tries to put me in the fucking gutter, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You do realize that you have just exposed yourself as being a violent person who, if you don't get your way, according to the terms of the contract,
I'm a violent person who gets fed. Wow.
No, you're saying I no longer agree to the terms of the contract, and the other guy goes, well, you have a choice. You can walk away. So rather than walk away and find another job, you're going to find the guy's house and do bad things to him.
Okay, you painted that well. I'll concede.
Well, I don't know. I can't believe you actually said that. I can't believe you actually believe. Do you really believe that though?
What?
That you would actually
people owe poor people shit? Yeah.
What?
That rich people owe poor people? Yeah.
What rich
that poor people owe rich people too? I agree with that too. We live in a society.
Then why are you supporting that? You said you support Donald Trump.
Yeah, why wouldn't I?
Why don't you find his house? He devalued your dollar directly.
Like we said earlier, I think that he has a purpose in it. And everybody in between me and him is benefiting. I'm at the bottom of the chain. So what do I do?
He directly devalued your dollar, no matter what the purpose is. So wait. What if the employer who you said you're going to go find his house goes, hey, there's a purpose in me paying you this. Just hang on. Okay. Cause I got a plan. And you're like, but my children are starving. So you're going to give,
if my children were actually starving, I wouldn't accept that. But if I was on the line and I believed in him as a person, I would.
But Donald Trump did worse to you than Volodymyr Zelensky ever could do to you.
How so?
He devalued your currency.
How did you devalue my currency? How did you devalue my currency more than starting a war with half the world?
By diluting the money supply and by diluting.
He diluted the supply. He diluted the supply of resources. I'm against this war because it destroyed so much chance of peace. I don't care that the American dollar has to go through another reorganization like it did in 71 and in the 30s, and like that happens. It does. And I'm fine with that. What I'm not okay with is a guy like Zelensky he didn't start the war, but he continued the war. And
Zelensky did? Zelensky didn't start any war.
No, he continued the war. The war started in 2014.
You act like Zelensky's in control. He's not. You act like Donald Trump's in control. He's not. You know, back in the 90s.
That is where we disagree, because I don't think that Shakespeare is gospel. Like, I think that there are real human beings who have real goals and real opportunities, and they pursue them. I don't think that there is a cabal in charge of the world. I think there are multiple cabals competing for the world.
Well, there's no doubt there, but is Donald Trump being controlled by, or is he controlling the cabals?
I think it's a little of both because of his position.
Are you familiar with what Adam Greenspan said when he was asked by a reporter what should the relationship between a president and the Federal Reserve Chairman be?
Yeah.
Do you know that based on what Amschel Rothschild said, give me control over a nation's money and I don't care who makes its laws. Do you realize that the people who are in the driver's seat of issuing and valuing currency are the ones who actually control Congress?
Yes.
And AIPAC controls Congress, right?
Yes.
And Donald Trump is pro AIPAC, pro Israel, pro Zionist.
He has to be.
He does. Really?
Yeah,
So
that's the way the world works right now. You're at the beginning of what could be the end of this horrible thing that's been happening since Napoleon.
Do you know how bad Israel is for the world?
I think we might disagree on how bad Israel is for the world.
Really? $3.9 billion isn't bad enough?
No, not at all.
Blowing up, really?
No, dude, $3.9 billion. Like, no, they pissed that away on railroad projects that go nowhere. That's nothing.
Oh, that's nothing. $8.4 trillion isn't nothing. $12.4 trillion, $6.2 trillion is nothing. Those are the figures.
Because that all goes to Israel.
Huh?
Because that all goes to Israel.
Well, and the military-industrial complex and big pharma under the CARES Act. Donald Trump did all that.
To multiple cabals that are constantly competing on an innumerable amount of fronts.
I'm shocked that you would actually propose voting and supporting for somebody who's for civil asset forfeiture, red flag laws, more money.
Oh no, I'm very against that. Like my biggest problem with the United States right now actually is civil asset forfeiture and qualified immunity. That's my biggest problem with the United States right now. That's what I think the biggest problems that we face as American citizens.
Donald Trump is for both of those, right? 100%.
Yeah. I also know he's an old boomer, and there's only so much that.
Who cares what he is? He's a villain of America if he's for civil asset forfeiture and red flag confiscation laws.
I can really understand an old man thinking that it's okay to steal all the money from a drug dealer because that's what they think it is.
What does it matter if it's an old man or a young man? I mean, how does age have anything to do with it?
Because a young man, this day and age, would understand how much civil asset forfeiture has been used incorrectly against American citizens. An old man would think civil asset forfeiture is just used against drug dealers and mafia members.
I don't understand your thinking, man. I don't understand your thinking. If Obama if Obama did in his 8 years what Trump did in his first 4 years and what he says he's going to do in his next 4 years, you'd be against him. I'm pretty sure, right?
You'll have to give me an example.
Civil asset. What if Obama was for civil asset forfeiture, gun confiscation laws?
He was.
Were you against him for those two things?
Yes.
But you're not against Trump for those two things.
I am, but I'm not against Trump as Trump for everything that Trump does.
Really?
I'm against those Trump issues. I'm against those things that old man understands. I know boomers. I know old people. I know what it's like to just hold a retarded position.
So you'll give slack to Obama, but you'll give slack to Trump, but you won't give slack to Obama.
No, I gave slack to Obama too, but Obama was younger and Obama was more hip to a lot of things, and Obama still chose to do other things, even though he was hip to those things. And then I watched Trump get hip to things during the Obama years.
Okay, let me ask you this. What would Trump have to do to get you to go, you know what? I really regret my support of that guy. I'm done. What would he have to do?
What would he have to do?
Yeah, because devaluing. Wait, hold on. Let me say devaluing. Let me just be clear. Wanting to shut down corners of the internet wasn't enough. Keeping money.
No. What do you mean by that?
He said, "quote I want to shut down corners of the internet to protect Americans."
Okay, what's the context of that?
I've got a video. There is no other context. It was right after he said, "We want a biometric police state. We want visa entry."
No, I remember that.
He said, "We want them on."
I'm not okay with that.
on land and air. So that's not enough to get you to withdraw your support. Keeping big money in politics.
No, because nationalism means something.
He's he's not a nationalist. He's an Israeli. He got $170 billion million dollars from Adelson and other Israeli lobby groups. He's in the back pocket of AIPAC. That's not enough. $6.2 trillion of the CARE Act isn't enough. Federal indemnity for all police forces and civil asset forfeiture and red flag laws.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that. Made me so mad. I agree. I forgot about that.
Wanting to put an American in jail for a year for burning a Chinese-made American flag isn't enough. That's a violation of the First Amendment.
Where did he get the flag?
What's that?
Where did he get the flag?
It doesn't matter. He wants to put
it does matter because this is a big thing with people who complain about the rainbow flag burning Americans going to prison for hate crimes, which I completely disagree with. I hate crimes are not real crimes. It's not a real thing.
Do you think somebody should be put in jail for 12 months for burning a piece of cloth, no matter what flag it is?
It depends on where they got it and how they got it, in all honesty.
If it's their flag, if they bought it and it's an American flag and they burn it and they're caught burning it, should they go to jail?
No.
Donald Trump thinks they should. He's also the father.
I disagree with him on that, dude.
He's also the father of the VAXX. He was bailed out by Rothschilds Inc. under Wilbur Ross in the 1990s. 25 years later, he made Wilbur Ross the Commerce Secretary. So if all that is not enough to get you to withdraw your support for Donald Trump, what would be enough? What would he have to do? Not only that, he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein and said that he's a good guy.
In such a way that it sounds like it's impossible to deny. But I look at Trump and I'd say everything that I've seen so far, but this Epstein thing that happened the last couple of days is whack. But so far, he just acts like an old man. He acts exactly like I would expect somebody in his position to act. Like, I don't care that he has Jewish friends, and it's too bad that he's not red-pilled on all the issues, but
it's not about having Jewish friends. Bibi Netanyahu is a literal war criminal with a warrant by the ICC. He hangs around him.
Right, but everybody who wins war is a war criminal too, though. Like, I don't like Netanyahu. I don't like Netanyahu, I have to say, but everybody who wins a war is a war criminal.
You leave me speechless, my friend. I completely disagree with everything you said, but I got to move on to the next one. I appreciate you.
All right.
Take care. All right, Cesario and 10th Man. What's up, Cesario?
What's up, bro? I was hoping you were having an open panel because I was 30-something minutes behind, so I'm not up to wait. I watched to the end of the Zelensky thing. So
okay.
We're having a specific. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're having conversations specifically to talk about the Zelensky, Vance, and Trump interview in the Oval Office.
Saying I'm 36 minutes behind on the live where you are right now. So.
Oh, that's okay. Are you pro or anti-Trump?
Well, listen. Last time I talked to you a couple months ago.
I remember you.
Yeah. I pushed on you a little bit. Today I might have to push on you a little bit more.
Okay.
Harder than I have since I met you. And it's just I get what you're saying. I do about that all the world's a stage, all that. I get where you're coming from. I do. But I loathe Trump, right? I actually loathe him as a human being. I loathe 99% of these people. But sometimes when you're saying things like that are trying to say this nicely, Trump is dealing with absolute lunatics, right? And I don't want to disparage you, but I've spent an awful lot of time with the auditors trying to get them to be peaceful. They can't do it, right? So if you got auditors like you know the people, I'm not gonna get on here and start calling people out, but
you're talking about the police auditors.
No, yeah. First
Okay.
Amendment auditors and cop
Okay.
watchers.
All right.
They can't get along. So how would Trump ever be able to get these people to get along without being a little bit deceptive, right? Like, yeah, Trump may not be the best guy in the world, but you're not going to get anybody better than him. You're not. There is nobody better. Show me a better person, right? Like, I've had arguments with many people over the years where I said, okay, I'd love to be the, emperor of the world. And people are like, no, that would be horrible. Okay, so who do you want? Like, it's just, it seems like everybody wants a magic Jesus or Superman to come along and save everybody from their problems. And I get what you're saying, Brian, about we shouldn't have a master, smaller government, blah, 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 blah. The largest majority of human beings are complete and utter imbeciles that don't even do what's in their own best interest. So we can't be self-regulating because most of these people aren't smart enough to be able to do it. So you have to have people that are dictators, just like Saddam Hussein. Everybody wants to say, oh, Saddam Hussein, he was a terrible, terrible person. Oh, when he was fighting the enemies that we paid him to fight for us? Oh, yeah, terrible, terrible person. This one, it's nothing against you, Brian. I appreciate you. I respect you. We all have differences of opinion. I'm not trying to come at you full force here or nothing, but sometimes I get that you're putting it on for the show, right? That maybe you're a little bit disingenuous and a lot because I'm a bit picky, right? Like when I discussed with you about the actual quote of power corrupts absolutely, you took it, but you still keep saying it the same way. So I get it. We're in patterns. Like I don't know. I'm not saying you're a bad guy.
You talking about accidentally dropping the word tens?
What do you mean tens?
Power tends to corrupt, and absolute
Yes.
power corrupts absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just because I forget a word, you're going to pin me as disingenuous, which is fine. But
not just that though. I'm not trying to. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Listen, I'm trying to if I'm disingenuous, that means I'm not being genuine. Now, when you make that accusation or put that out into the ether, I would hope that you would have something substantial to say other than misquoting Lord Acton. So, is there something substantial?
It's not just that.
So, can you give me something substantial about? I mean, is there something that I said that's wrong? That's
just sometimes I think you're a little bit too hard on a man that is, like he says, trying to stop the killing.
You talking about Trump?
Yeah.
How can you be too hard on a guy that devalued and wrote the largest amount with one signature of 6.2 trillion for the CARES Act? It was supposed to be 2.2 trillion, but the Federal Reserve and Trump knew this, put a $4 trillion backstop in there, which also increased to the national debt, which decimates my fellow Americans.
Was that for the military?
No, the $4 trillion was a solid Federal Reserve backstop that went nowhere. The 2.2 is for the CARES Act for the stimulus, the initial round of the stimulus package under COVID 1984 by George Orwell. Now, you can accuse me of being disingenuous. What you could probably accuse me of is lacking nuance at times. I will agree with you there because sometimes I don't know where to go with these things. Maybe you can say I'm too idealistic for it to fit in the real world. I would agree with you there because I understand the argument of, man, the world is so chaotic, and because we can't even get First Amendment auditors on the same page, I get that the logic resonates with me. It makes sense, 10th man. I mean, I'm with you there, and it's disheartening for me. And sometimes I literally can't sleep at night and have to get out of my bed and go take a walk because it weighs so heavy that the depth of corruption and the amount of debt and the killing fields and the fact that people can't get along is utterly disturbing. But
I'm in the same position. I fought the fight for a long time, and I just after I got jab injured, I had to bow out.
I mean, that's a whole new can of worms, and I would love to talk to you about it. And I feel for you.
Yeah, someday.
Yeah. But go ahead, man. I don't want to. I don't know.
No, that's all I want to listen. I don't know how
to. I don't know how to
Right.
convey to you that what you see is what you get. And I understand there's internet personalities. It's like when you walk away from your computer, you're a different person or whatever. But, you know, I've been doing this for 12 years and I've not
I know.
changed. So go ahead.
No, just don't you think that maybe you're a little too hard on a guy that is actually just trying to stop the killing?
If I believe that he was trying to stop the killing, I might agree with you, but I don't
Do you
think he's
believe
trying
that you would do a better job than he's doing?
No, not by my. First of all, I wouldn't want the president. I don't want the ring of. I don't want the ring of power, because I do think. I do think it draws the corruptible. I have no desire for it. If I found myself sitting behind the desk in the Oval Office one day, I would hope that I would have the wisdom to surround myself with advisors who really knew what the hell was going on, and that's going to be very, very difficult. Maybe you would be one of those advisors, you know, because I feel like
I would love to be emperor of the world, because see, I have no agenda. Right? I have nothing to lose or nothing to gain. That's how I became Prime Minister of Canada when Justin Trudeau quit there a couple weeks ago. Now I'm Prime Minister. Things are going much better than normal. Go ahead.
No, I would hope I would surround myself with a bunch of people who knew what the hell was going on. But then how do you know that they know what the hell is going on? And how do you know that they haven't been bought and paid for? This thing is so deep. There's so much corruption that, you know, you talk about the deep state. Who knows how deep the deep state actually goes? But it's, I do have an agenda, by the way. I want the truth. And sometimes it's really difficult to unearth the truth. I mean, me and my girlfriend she's my wife now, but we were talking about something the other day and I was holding fast to this position. She was like, well, if you considered this, I was like, actually, no, I haven't considered that angle. That throws a monkey wrench in my thinking. So, you know, even for people who are really determined and trying to unearth the truth and think that they found it, even they can be askew many times.
But if Trump did what he said he's going to do and cut the military by half, then would you appreciate him a tiny bit more? And this is coming from a guy who, see, it makes me angry that people make me defend Trump, but I don't see anybody else out there that could do better. So, but would you appreciate that at least? If he got the deficit down to half of what it is and cut the military by half and shut down half of the military bases around the world, it would then you at least then you give him a little bit of credit.
Of course, I would appreciate that action. And and even in this Zelensky thing, what he said and what JD Vance said to Zelensky were some of what they said were right on target.
Both time. And you know, maybe it is all theater, because you know I assume that everything is a farce, right? But to see a government official, because you know I'm Canadian, I don't know if you know that or not, but to see a government official stand up to somebody publicly like that was phenomenal. Because if I was in the House of Parliament when they all stood up and applauded that Yahtzee, I knew about Ukraine. I've told those stories live about how I know about Ukraine. I would have went up there and caused a scene right there and then while they were applauding this guy, not wait until afterwards. This is absurd. This, we have to keep decorum. F this nonsense. Like when they threw multiple people out of parliament here in Canada, I would just say to them straight up, are you willing to kill me to take me out of here? Are you willing to take me out of here in cuffs? Right, so it's about time we actually have government representatives that are going to stand there and be steadfast and say, do something. Anyway, I don't want to take over your whole show.
No, I agree with you. The spirit of William, that's kind of like the spirit of William Wallace. You know, it's like, hey, we're taking a stand against this and we're going to forego decorum to do it. I agree with you on that. So give my best to Justin. I appreciate you weighing in, man.
Who's Justin?
Justin Trudeau, you're the prime minister now, right?
Oh, for fuck's sakes. All right, you want to go move on? All right, peace.
Hey, have a good one. Take care. Cesarios, thanks for waiting, man.
Thank you very much. Okay, so did you see the video of little X, what's his face's son, telling Trump, he says, shut the F up, you're not the president. Did you see that video?
I don't think he said that, but yeah, I know Dave Pacman says he said that, but I did a video on that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I don't think he was talking to Trump. And I think he said, you're not the press. I think he was talking to a reporter.
Oh, well, the video I saw, it was it looked like that's what the kid was saying, or sounded like it. So maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that's what it said.
Yeah, he wasn't even looking at Trump. He was actually looking past Trump. And then when he said what he said, Trump looked over to his left like he knew the kid was talking to somebody to his left. But you know, he could have said, "Shut up, you're not the president." I don't think that's any big deal because kids say crazy things all the time.
Well, kids say what they hear at home. They're there. They're just repeating what they hear. That
Yeah.
little kid or any little kid doesn't just make this stuff up. They hear it from somewhere. So okay, if it's not true, it's not true that didn't happen. But we know that Trump is not in control. We know that.
By the way, even if he said you're not the press, that would be consistent with what Elon Musk posts on X because he's constantly calling out, fake stream media.
Well, I thought he said you're not the president, not the press. I thought the kid said you're not the president.
Yeah, it sounded like press to me. I played it like a ton of times.
Oh,
But
did?
Dave,
Okay.
yeah, Dave Pacman, who's a leftist propagandist, wanted to make a big issue of that and got 2.1 million views in the process. But I don't think that was any big deal. But like you said, kids parrot what they hear at home. So if he did say you're not the president, that kind of lets you know about what Elon Musk is saying at home, if that was your point.
Well, we know that. I mean, they write books on this stuff. There's a book called 300 Conspiracy or Conspiracy 300, and that book tells you what if a certain group of people controlled everything: the trains, the oil, the sugar industry, the wheat. I mean, that's one book. There's another book called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. There's another book, right? I mean, you have the Tavistock Institute. You can look up Tavistock Institute, and it says how to corrupt. I forgot what the part of the Tavistock Institute says, how do everything they can to corrupt the nation. I mean, if you look at Washington and all of those guys that are supposedly against the government, they left. Why are they all dressed in that same garb? All of them. You look at Hamilton, Jefferson, Washington, all of those guys come over here crying about the country they left and the independence of them, but they're all dressed the same. If you look at this $100 bill right here, you'll see Benjamin Franklin dressed like those guys. They didn't like that country so much. Then why do we have the same kind of government? We don't have parliament, but we have Congress. We don't have prime ministers or whatever, but we have presidents. We have the same kind of government or type of government that they cried that they were against. So the people that were here, according to one story, I don't know if it's true, but it sounds true. They said, we want to buy the land. And the people that were here, whoever they were, natives, whatever, they said, are you crazy? Why don't you buy the cloud too? Why don't you buy the air? You want to buy the land? Who are you talking about? That's so stupid.
Hey, I don't want to get too far. We're way on a rabbit trail. This has nothing to do with Zelensky or JD Vance or anything.
Okay.
So Jared, that's why I gotta when I make a video, I want people to see it, and it's got to be directed, and it's got to have something to do with subject matter. Now, you did mention about X, and because I brought it up, and you brought it up, and we talked about it. Here's Dave Pacman's commentary on it, and then he plays the actual video. Let's listen.
And that you need to go away.
Here's what Dave Pacman says that X said.
Telling Trump to shut up, that you're not the president, and that you need to go away. This is what a world that we live in right now. Here is video, and it's sort of tough to hear. While Elon Musk is talking in
it's so tough to hear, but Dave Pacman is going to tell you exactly what he
the
said.
Oval Office the other day, and Trump is sitting hunched over and dejected. His son
Trump does not look hunched over and dejected to me. It looks like he's
in addition to wiping and eating boogers and wiping them on the Resolute desk,
who cares?
Actually says to Trump at one point, you're not the president. You need to go away.
JB, I want to play the commentary because I want to show you what leftist propagandists are saying that X said about Trump. So we're going to get to the actual video here in a second. Just be patient.
I'm going to play it here, okay?
To restore democracy. This may seem like, well, aren't we in a democracy?
Now, is it possible that Elon
here? Let me play this again.
Wiping actually says to Trump at one point, "You're not the president.
Come
you
on,
need
play
to
the
go
video.
away." I'm going to play it here. Okay.
Okay.
to restore democracy. This may seem like, well, are we in a democracy?
Now,
it sounds like he said, "You're not the press. You need to go away." I don't know. Even if he said president, it's a kid. I don't know. I don't know how much stock you can take in that.
Well, Brian, we know that kids mimic what they hear at home. That's a little kid. What does he know? You think he's going to say or speak bad words on his own? He hears it from his parents. That's how I understand. I have kids. You have kids. We know they listen to everything we say, and they start saying things. Even they say, "Where do they get that from?" Oh, you got it from us. So,
yeah. So, any comments on the Zelensky Trump Vance thing?
well, we know those guys are Hollywood actors, paid liars. So we know it's just a fake beef, just like they do in Hollywood with rappers with arguments, and it makes money. It distracts what's really going on. Like I said, I wasn't going off too far. The books that I mentioned, those tell us who, or like with Edward Bernays, what does he say? The people that are up front are the ones that aren't running the show. It's the ones that you don't know about. You don't know their names. You don't know their faces. That's another, or Dogmas and Doctrine or whatever by Albert Pike. Is all these books tell us what the real deal is, and everything we see in front of our screen and on TV, on the internet, whatever, that's just a show. Because what's really going on is probably would make us sick, that probably want to just throw up, and probably would want to go out and kill those people. Like the guy that was on earlier, he said, "I'd go to their house." If you really know what these guys were doing, we probably really would go to their house and kill them.
Yeah. That disturbed me. What Ghost of Tacos Past said. I agree with you there.
No, but really, that's what we would do if we really knew how bad these guys were. We would do that. We all do that. Your statement, I don't think it's correct completely. I don't like none of us is greater than all of us. I think it's better as not any one of us is greater than all of us. I think that makes more sense to me. Instead of none of us is greater than all, I think not any one of us is greater than all of us. I think that sounds better. It makes more sense to me.
Yeah, the implication of none with the contrasting with the all is the individual. So
yeah, I know. I like it. I like it. It's just
stay on, Cesario. FVP, what's going on, man? What you got?
Hey, what's up, Brian? Long time watcher, first time caller. I've been watching a lot of different takes on this conversation that happened in the White House with Zelensky and Trump, as well as some of the other world leaders that have come into the White House the last couple of days. And I find it to be quite interesting because it actually reminds me of 1984, where there seemed to be this battle between these three world powers, right? You had Eurasia, Oceania, and whatever China was called in the book or whatever. And and I find it to be interesting that these things are playing out in real time right now. And as I watched that debate or whatever you want to call that thing, I found it to be interesting because I'm like, well, in some ways, I found myself agreeing with Trump, but then I found myself being like, well, none of this makes any sense. I mean, this seems to all be playing out in the sense of like, oh, all of a sudden we're friends with Russia, and it seems a little confusing. That's why I actually appreciate your commentary on these things as a reminder of what these psyops can be. But it seemed very real to me, the conversation, the fight, the raising of voices and the points that were being made. So I'm still a little bit torn, and I just wanted to hear a little bit more about what you see as what you're seeing as the drama and what you're seeing as the psyop.
Well, let's start. Let's have a starting point. Do you agree that all wars are basically bankers' wars?
Oh, 100%.
And if that's true, if the wars are bankers' wars, then it's more than Putin, Zelensky, and Trump or Biden who are in control, who are pulling the strings, because wars don't profit the common man. They profit the people who are at the top of the food chain, selling the arms and the food and all that kind of stuff. So in that sense, and now this could have been organic and not planned. Okay, let's
Right.
just
That's what I'm wondering about.
Yeah, let's give them that. Because as far as the believability scale, it sure looked believable to me. But then I've seen a lot of movies that it's like, wow, it's almost like he wasn't acting, like that came from his heart. So it could have been completely orchestrated and pre-planned, but it also could be organic.
Well, the reason why I see that is because, like, I mean, I've been in those spats before, and you know what I mean. And I don't have anybody puppeteering me. It's just like I have my my issues. I have my anger that I have to deal with, and it seemed like, at least to me, like I understand the whole bankers war aspect because I love my history. You know what I mean? So what are you saying? It's like, are you saying that like the banksters are, they put a Trump in there knowing that Trump thinks this way, and they put a Zelensky in there knowing that Zelensky thinks this way, and then just like let them battle it out organically? Like, what do you mean by that?
I can tell you, I can name, let me just name one person that I know put Donald Trump into office. Miriam Adelson. $100 million is not a small amount of money. She is the widow of, casino magnate Sheldon Adelson, who's now dead. But when somebody buys you for, and this is what it is, this is what politics is. This is buying and selling human beings who are supposedly going to represent a whole bunch of people. So when somebody shells out 150, 170 million dollars like Miriam Adelson, or $250 million like Elon Musk, they want something back for the bucks that they just spent on your campaign. And one of the things that Trump will give Miriam Adelson is he's going to make the Gaza the new Rio of the Middle East. He said it. He's already verbalized it. And to hell with the Palestinians. But it's not about the Palestinians. We're going after Hamas. Well, let's ask ourselves, how was Hamas created? Oh, that's right. Mossad in Israel created Hamas. Now it sounds like a problem reaction solution. We got a little Hegelian dialectic going on here. We got them creating the problem, Hamas, waiting for the fear-based reaction, all the Palestinians and the constant made for TV genocide and the outrage of the American people. So what's the solution? Let's give more. Before he left office, Biden, who's on the same team as Trump, gave Bibi Netanyahu $14 billion. Now we're on the hook for $3.9 billion annually, but he gave him just an automatic. I think the total before Biden left office giving Israel was $21 billion. That's not peanuts. So when you've got a Zelensky, Vance, and Trump going there, I'm not saying everything they said is scripted, but they are leading us down a road to deceive the Ukrainian people, to deceive the Russian people, deceive the Trump people. And it is no different. And they've shown us this with who is Trump's pick for what was the cabinet position of Jim McMahon's wife? It is so it's so WWE that
Department
they are telling,
of Education, I think.
Yes, Department of Education. Yes.
Oh yeah. Great, wonderful.
It's so WWE that they have no shame in telling you exactly what they're doing. So as far as being everything minutely scripted, no, but they are leading you down a trail, and that's how I look at it.
And the thing is, I totally see being led down the trail. Like honestly, I don't disagree with you a lot. In fact, I'm not disagreeing with you now. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the whole, like, I'm talking about go back to the 1800s, go back to the 1700s. Like, these things have been written about. I mean, even the Elon Musk of the world, like that's Aldous Huxley's father talking about that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm like, how does that happen? Like, I get the minutia of it. Like, okay, but I'm still trying to wrap because when I'm trying to talk to my friends and family about what's going on, like what's really going on, I have a hard time articulating those type of things. And as far as I'm concerned, you're the best person I know who can address these things. Like, I don't know how to articulate these to most people because I don't really care about the discussion about Zelensky and Trump as much as, well, do y'all recognize that this is what's been played out literally in 1984? Like, oh, now all of a sudden we're friends with Russia when they were just our enemy yesterday.
Yeah.
Or, China next year we'll be friends with China. And like the whole purchase of Greenland, of Canada and Mexico becoming one huge state, Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. I'm like, oh, you mean like, oh, they're building one huge American union. Oh, okay, I see. But how do I articulate that to people?
Man, I'll tell you, I am not the sharpest knife in the drawer, far from it, and need constant sharpening. So I like to keep things simple. Just tell somebody to pull $1 out of their pocket and ask them. Don't even tell them, just ask them, what does this represent? And they're going to probably say, what do you mean? What does it represent? It's like, do you work for these? Yes, I do. Okay, so it's going to cost your time. And then because you work, it's going to cost your labor. So what would you say about somebody who actually controls the issuance, in other words, the supply and the value, and they can dilute this at will, devalue it, which means it's diluting and taking away the value of what you go out to work for to put a roof over your head and food in your stomach and clothes on your back. Well, what if those people who are in control of this are giving boatloads of money to places like, oh, I don't know, Ukraine and Israel for one thing? And then they're like, well, what do you think that does to our value, the value of our dollars here at home? It devalues it. Yeah, that's right. Remember back in the 1980s, Rubik's Cube, when it first came out, it was like $14.99. But then the market was flooded with Rubik's Cubes and they went down to like $3.99. When you flood the market with products, this is a product, you're going to devalue each and every unit. But if you withhold that, then it actually strengthens this. So just meet people where they're at. And they're like, you're like, okay, are these politicians for you or against you? And I don't care if you're talking about a Republican or Democrat, because you want to stay out of that. When you start talking about some political parasite, people get all up in arms and they think that I'm a liberal leftist libtard unless I give my disclaimer and say, Biden is a psychopath too. Let's talk about Trump, So just bring them where they're at and say,
Me too.
if their policies result in you having to work longer for less, and you're shot, I don't know about you, but when I go to my local grocery store and I fill up my grocery cart, it is laughable how few items I have that cost so much money. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. When my mom went shopping, she was walking, me and the boys, we had to carry our own shopping carts, and she probably didn't even spend $100. Now you spend $100 and you get a bag of maybe 2 or 3 items. So just meet them where they're at. It doesn't really take geopolitical understanding to understand that we're all getting screwed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yes. And that part people tend to understand. Like I literally just had a conversation with my neighbor about this where, she's a lefty and, bless her heart. And she's complaining about all the Doge stuff and all this. And I'm like, that's great and everything, but and I can explain the basic economics to her and she gets it. And she's like, I try to explain entrepreneurialism, volunteerism and all that type of stuff. And she understands that, but then she keeps coming back to, well, Elon sucks or, so on and so forth, which is fine. You're allowed to believe that. Again, you're really calm about this when people come to you. I'm finding myself in a position where it's like, I'm not saying I agree with Trump. I'm not saying I agree with Doge or anything like that. I'm not saying I agree with Ukraine or Vance. What I am trying to say is when these debates or when these arguments or when these wars are happening, people need to understand, and I'm trying to help them understand that, every time we buy into these debates, it's like the blue dress, white dress debate. You're literally just distracting yourself from the fact that we could actually take ourselves out of the system altogether. But people just don't believe that we can actually do that. I don't even know if we can actually do that because most people don't. It doesn't seem like most people even want to.
Well, let me ask,
even what the point of me even bringing this point up, but
no, I think I get your point. I think I do. Just tell me if I'm wrong, but the methodology, how do we get to a better place? We want more freedom. We want the value of our currency to be strengthened. How do we get to that point? And you're familiar with the metaphor, how do you eat an elephant, right?
A bite at a time.
Yeah, one bite at a time. So what's one of the steps that we can make to strengthen the value of our dollar, to give more Americans more freedom, or at least allow them to just be free? Because it's not about giving. The government's not giving freedoms out, but just stand back. One of the big things that we can do is become 50 states again. We could dissolve, if we could all get together and say the federal government has no authority over my life. But what's the first thing that happens when a mass shooting happens? The FBI and the ATF come in and they take over. Well, those are federal agencies. The state agencies should be taking, care of that. In every state, the federal government, there should be no FBI. There should be no ATF. They are completely antithetical. If we learn anything from David Koresh and the Branch Davidian cult and Waco and 76 people dying, 20 of which are children, if we learn anything about Ruby Ridge and Randy Weaver and his wife getting shot in the face while she's holding her baby by the ATF and the FBI, we know that we don't need those organizations. So if we could agree on anything, it's that Washington, D.C. should have zero say over our lives, and they don't deserve one penny of the money we earn. So I think that would be a good first step.
I hope. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big proponent of the 10th Amendment. I don't think enough people even talk about that amendment.
Yep, I totally agree with you.
I find it to be, that it's just something nobody brings up ever. And in fact, it's like a lot of times these debates, they end up bringing up the complete opposite of an amendment like that. And, I find it to be interesting, like the whole Roe versus Wade thing, which, by the way, it sounds like Trump is like, well, no, give it back to the states.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily disagree with those type of, arguments. And he tends to make arguments like that. I'm not saying I completely agree with them.
I'm on board with what Trump says about that.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, decentralize that.
I mean, I'm in agreement with you, Brian. I mean, I've always been a fan of yours, and you always bring light to what I'm thinking already.
Well, as much as I'm against abortion, I still don't think government has the right to tell anybody what to do with their body, even if it's something that I would disagree with. Like, I don't think anybody should be taking drugs and snorting cocaine and shooting up, But if that's their perspective of this is how I pursue life and liberty and happiness, who am I to try to stop them? But government doesn't see it that way. I realize that we're not living in a perfect world, and power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But if the problem with the world is that there are evil people, then it might be wise to suggest that the last thing you want to do is give some of those corrupt people the ring of power. What do you think? Hey, before we go any further, I'm getting some heat in the chat room about not playing the actual clip about what Elon Musk, his son X, said to Donald Trump. So let me
on Tuesday.
Let me just play this real quick, if you guys can just hang tight for me, because I did say that I would just play that clip, but I played.
Hey, Brian, I appreciate your time, man. I do have to hop off, but
okay,
man, keep up the good work, bud.
Hey, Hey, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do, but it's not about politics or anything like that.
Oh, okay. You got a great radio voice, man. You got real calm, even keel. It's an easy voice to listen to. So you might want to consider maybe opening up a political channel. I think people would be interested in your views.
People have been telling me that for years, man. I'm just like, I don't know if I want to get in the fray.
There's your sign.
I'm more about teaching people how to like.
All I can do is plant a seed, man.
I'm more about teaching people. Yeah, I'm more about teaching people how to be individuals and how to truly know where their power lies and stop blaming others and pointing their fingers outside of themselves. Yeah. I'd rather teach that to the world than do the politics thing, because I think people get lost in the weeds.
Have you ever read the book by Larkin Rose, The Most Dangerous Superstition?
Oh my God, I love Larkin Rose, man.
Yeah.
I haven't read Most Dangerous Superstition, but I have read Jones Plantation and stuff.
Yeah, you got to read The Most Dangerous Superstition. Talk about making it simple and articulating exactly what's going on. And then at the back of the book, he gives suggestions on how we can advance and work toward, basically a non-police state, a non-statist atmosphere, if you will. All right, brother. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
Would you mind if I get it?
Oh, no, go ahead.
If I sent you an email just to connect?
Contact@highimpactflix.com. I'd love it.
Cool.
And if you don't write it down correctly, it's the email is under every one of my videos in the description.
Sounds good. Thank you, bud.
Thanks, man. Take care. All right, let me play this. Cesario, thanks for hanging on. 10th Man is back, but let me play this because I said I would play it in its entirety. I think I found it. This is from ABC 10 News. Let's hear it.
Held a news conference and
come on. I'm trying to look for just the clip.
It's true, or whether the video was manipulated. Here's the clip.
and the prices from one year to the next are the same, and they're.
Some are claiming Little X also told Trump, quote, "You're not the president," and that feeds into the narrative.
Here, let's see. I'm trying to.
From one year to the next are the same, and they're.
They didn't play the first part. Doggone it.
From one year to the next are the same.
I can see where he says, "I want you to shush your mouth." I don't know, man. Let me see. I think I pulled up another one. Let's see.
For the average American. I mean, imagine they're going down the grocery aisle and the prices from one year to the next are the same.
Oh, they made it look like he was looking at Trump. He's not looking at Trump. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. All right, so I played it. Who knows? 10th, Cesare, did you have something else?
Just all this is just a big fake. Look at the guys. Look at right there. Look at his hand signals. All this is a satanic ritual thing. Garbage. I mean, who names their kid Little X? Who names it? You know, there's a satanic guy called.
His name's Xavier, bro.
He's named Little X, and there's a
No, his name is Xavier. They call him Little X. Goodness gracious.
Well, no, X is also part of the Illuminati too. That's why they do this. They do this X symbol. That's the reason why they named Twitter X. They named it X. Maybe his name is Xavier, maybe, but it's Xavier for a reason. The X is part of their satanic ritual. So that's what they have. This homosexual guy called Little Nas X. He's another one of their it's all of it. Trump's, all of these guys are all part of it, man. It's all a satanic ritual. It has nothing to do with the betterment of us, the people they supposedly serve.
Yeah, let me just stop, because according to Grok, which is Elon Musk's AI, his son's literal name is not Xavier. It's XAEA-12. That's the name of his son.
Right,
I don't see anywhere where his name's Xavier.
No, I think
it says they've explained in part X stands alone. AE is pronounced like Ash, and A12 refers to the Lockheed A12 aircraft, a precursor of the SR-71 Blackbird.
Exactly. Who names their kids like that?
Does it not look like Xavier? What are you talking about? I named my kitten Genocide.
Yeah, I don't think the naming of X is that. I know that people draw comparisons and the hand signals and all that kind of stuff. I'd rather go on their actions and their policies instead of all these things that can be interpreted. Let me give you an example. I did a Facebook post. God, it's got to be a decade ago now, and I just so happened to have turned. Let's see, what was I posted a picture of myself at 18 and then a picture of myself 33 years later. Well, somebody said that I'm literally, he was not joking, Illuminati confirmed, because they used the number 33 in my Facebook posts. And sometimes I'll even hold my hands like this, but I'm not a Freemason and I'm not Illuminati. So all this subjective stuff, I definitely take with a grain of salt. Now, when you've got Elon Musk saying that he's for UBI, carbon taxes, that he wants to put chips in your brains, and that we've unleashed the demon when talking about AI, and he's got New World Order behind him, and he comes out as the devil's champion for Halloween, and his mom is all into this crazy Luciferian type of stuff. Now, that's something that makes you go, what the hell is going on here? What are these people into?
So didn't Trump say, like that guy, and this is just more stuff against him, because you are one guy, you're not one of those guys, because you're not part of their club. So didn't Trump say, I can shoot your mom in the face and they'll still vote for me? That's the kind of people we're dealing with. No matter what Trump does, they'll still vote for him. They'll still support him. Not only that, there was just a couple of years ago, Trump was making fun of Musk. He said, if he would have came and begged to me about for some money for his endeavor, I would have laughed at him. He has spaceships that go nowhere, cars that burn up, and companies that are worthless. Where like talking about how Twitter, he bought it for this many billion and was worth way less. So he was making fun of him a couple years ago. Now they're buddies. Get out of here. These guys were former Democrats. Now they're Republican. So the Republicans are so dumb they don't realize that the Democrats are in the office, and the Democrats are so dumb they don't realize that the Democrats are in office. That's how dumb people are.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there. It's definitely a uniparty system, especially when you uncover the truth that the RNC and the DNC are both corporate entities owned by corporate interests. And you got to at least stop and ask the question, okay, now why does this exist and why is it allowed to exist? And how can these two candidates who work for corporate entities actually be working for the American people? And by the way, while we're talking about it, here is Trump's actual quote about shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue. Let's listen to it.
My people are so smart. And you know what else they say about my people? The polls.
Now, Donald Trump is not directly saying I could shoot somebody. He's saying, here's what people say about me in the polls.
They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like
so a case can be made that he's saying somebody else is saying that about him in the polls.
Incredible. No, they say, Trump, we love you too, man. Trump's voters are by far, you know, I'm at 68, 69%. I'm at 90% total. Like, will you say absolutely? I think it's 68 or 69%.
Anyway, that was the germane part of that. But I truly believe that people are so embroiled and intertwined and cemented in the cult of personality that no matter who that fill in the blank, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, I believe that people are so in tune and involved with and are guzzling so much Kool-Aid that these people could literally pull the trigger on somebody, not in an act of self-defense, but just outright blow them away, and they would find a way to make an excuse for them. Thoughts on that, 10th man?
I think it's a troll. The same way as when I came onto YouTube.
Could be.
And I told everybody that I never met anybody smarter than me. And people lost their minds. And then I said I'm the king of MNF and YouTube. And now people still repeat that 4 or 5 years later and say, oh, he's the king of MNF and YouTube. It's a troll, man. Like, if he was boring, like, so they make fun of Biden because he's fallen down. Like, I can't stand. That's not what I came up here to talk about. But I'll lament is.
All right, so I made
you can either have a bumbling fool who's fallen down off his bike and mumbling nonsense, or you can have the Uber troll, which is Donald Trump. He's the next best thing to me. What do you expect him to do? Do you expect him to get up there and say and start explaining to you his problems? Because nobody wants to listen to that. Anytime I explain my problems, people make fun of me. So he's not going to get up there and he's not going to say, hey, you don't understand how hard this job is. I had to talk to these people. Both of them are jerks. Then you're going to be coming up here saying, oh, well, he said those people are jerks. And now he's negotiating with them. Like, you're picking this guy apart who's doing something that you would never. Oh, man, I can't believe people make me defend these people. Do you have no idea? Most people have no idea what that ring of power does to you. I only was a very small YouTuber in my time.
Wait a minute. Let me stop you. What it tends to do to some people.
No, I'm saying just the pressure of having the ring. Now, whether or not it corrupts you is irrelevant.
What are you saying? Are you saying it does something to you positively or negatively?
It depends on how you take it. Right? The only way that I came out of it unscathed is because I refused to allow anybody to get close enough to me to be able to affect me. Right? All these people, dozens, if not hundreds of people, I'm your friend. And I'm like, I'm not your friend. You're people that I talk to on the internet. Right? I had to keep everybody at arm's length because like I lost some very close friends when I came out against unaliving children in clinics, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
The thing you guys were talking about earlier. And I came out against that after being a supporter of freedom of choice for a long time. But, after I watched a young man cry outside of a clinic and say, please don't do it, it changed my mind. Where I was kind of like, none of my business before that, right? And so, now as for the Elon Musk thing, that's the reason why I came up here. Now, I don't know what the truth is. And I like to defer to people who have more time than me and teams and stuff like that. That's why, in all honesty, Brian, you don't understand how much of a supporter I am of you. I've been in your comments for years. It's weird. It's almost like we all don't see the same highlighted comments, because I brought this up to numerous people, and I've been the highlighted comment on your videos.
Yeah, how does that work?
Hundreds of times.
How do those become highlighted? Yeah, I don't
know. I'm sitting at the top of them all, but it might be a lie, a YouTube trick, right? Who knows? So now, as for this, I like to defer to people who have teams. So for instance, Tim Pool played this, but then he also played wider shots of this. And there was a reporter, I don't remember where they were from, but they're over to Trump's left. And that guy was nattering and blah, 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 blah. And from what we could see from the angles that he showed, it looked like that kid was talking to the reporter.
Yeah.
We don't have those angles here right now. And this is the thing, is all I see is people defending Biden, right? No one's even talking about Biden anymore, like he didn't ever exist. But they talked about Trump the whole time while Biden was president. And I just find it very odd that, like, I watched a video earlier about the stutter, right? Everybody was saying that he had a stutter, and how dare you make fun of Joe Biden because he had a stutter, right? Where is this ardent? Because when I grew up, and like I say, I'm Canadian, right? But I thought I was American until I was like 9 or 10. I didn't know the difference. You weren't supposed to disrespect the president, because it was a office of great responsibility and stress. So you kind of like looked to that person and said, so to have somebody that even is a little bit respectable after we went through Biden, we're seeing what Keir Starmer's doing. We see what Justin Trudeau is, which is some kind of clown, right? To have somebody that has any respectability whatsoever. And I don't even like Donald Trump, but my goodness, from what we have to choose from.
Let me ask you this, 10th man, and be completely frank, because I know you're going to be honest, but just strip away, just unvarnished response, okay?
Yes.
Do you feel like in my criticism of Donald Trump, I have majored in the minors, or do you feel like I've talked about things that are that I substantially have a problem with that can be objectively reviewed by any rational person?
I hope you don't think that I'm coming at you about this specifically. I'm speaking to the hundreds of people that are watching too, right?
Yes.
So I'm not saying you specifically.
Well, I am asking about me specifically, since you.
I know. I'm saying, but before now. So I would have to have good examples, and that's not where my headspace is right now. We're talking about this, and now you're turning it back to you.
For example, let's just talk about Biden, for example, stumbling up the stairs, or the many gaffes. People can put as much or as little time as possible creating these super cuts where there's just gaffe after gaffe of Joe Biden. But you can also do the same thing with Donald Trump. Now, while it's funny, and I might use that as an intro to get people interested in the rest of the video, I don't think that's really that big of a difference. What I think is important for people to understand, though, and I'm glad we had the Biden presidency to show Americans and the world that you don't really need a president of the United States to run the country. There's no way that Biden was running the country. I think all agree with that. He did not have the mental faculties to run the economic side of the country, the military side of the country, the foreign aid side, none of it. So I think one of the positive takeaways of the Biden administration was, hey, presidents don't run. You don't need a president at the helm in the Oval Office running the country,
No.
So what do you
don't.
think? Go ahead.
Well, I can't really answer your question because I'm not here to demean you or anything. Like I actually like you more than you could possibly imagine because I watch all of your videos. Sometimes I just go on and just go through, which I never do with anybody, and just see I'm playing my Star Trek game. I want something to watch, right? So I'll just go into your list of the recent videos, see one that I didn't see, and I don't do that with anybody else, right? But I'll answer your question with the real reason why I came up here, which is I want you to test. You're going to answer my own question for me, kinda. So, I had a discussion with somebody a couple weeks ago, and I'm still a little bit mad about it because you've brought it up many times, but there was the person who said, "Oh, the trans person or whatever they were." With California fires, and they're like, "Oh, well, if you're in a position where I have to drag you out of a house, I guess you're done. Like you shouldn't have got yourself into that," or something like that. That's pretty much what they said. And so I got into an argument with somebody because I was like, I get that it's already been ruled by the Supreme Court of America that they're not responsible to put their lives in danger, police or any emergency responders type thing. But then, in that case, what do we need them for? They couldn't answer that question, but they were explaining to me how the police aren't responsible to run in the school where there were 70 something minutes and 400 something police.
Right.
I'm not going to say the word.
You're
right.
talking about Uvalde.
That's what made.
You're talking about Uvalde, right?
I try not to use that word, but that's what made me leave YouTube, right? Because I said the only explanation that I can come up with for this, and I'll try to say this couthly, is because nothing there is no explanation for what we saw. There is none. No valid explanation other than that they're using them for spare parts. That 70 something minutes was for a different crew to go in, get the parts that they needed for some very specific, very high value people, and then say, "Oh yeah, go ahead, go in now." That's what that's the only explanation I can come up with. I know it sounds completely insane. I lost a whole bunch of friends over it. Became a big deal. Don't care. Give me another explanation. So I said, well, what's the point in having these people then?
Yeah, no, I agree.
People want to say you're crazy, and some of the things you say are crazy. Those are the things that I think, not because I think that that's like likely that that's the case, but give me another explanation. Because like I go into fantasy mode and go, what logical explanation could I come like? Yeah, I get it's like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode. What I'm saying, but what if that was true, and the fact that I would have in my mind, oh, that's what's going on. Isn't that a very serious problem that I would even have to think that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, it is. I don't know if you're familiar with two Supreme Court cases that say that cops do not have any obligation to save you.
No, I know you talk about it all the time. You see, you don't understand. You might not understand, but a lot of these people are probably even more fanatics than I am that come up on your panel and are in your chats and stuff like that. And I watch your stuff religiously on every channel you've ever had. Are we even on Disturbing Illusion right now, or High Impact, or which one are we on now? I've been through you. I've been watching you since you came to YouTube.
The Disturbing Illusion. I don't think that's Swamp Lover. I think you're mistaking what 10th Man is saying here. Swamp Lover says 10th is stuck thinking everything he sees on TV is real. No, I don't. You don't think that?
Yes. I am actually a non-binary, transgender, transracial, paleo vegan ghost that's a wolf every second Tuesday and also a witch.
Who believes everything he sees on TV?
Yes.
Oh, wait. You mean, they see on TV.
Yes, they. You've misgendered me, sir.
I did it live too. I deserve a $250,000 fine.
I'll check my PayPal later.
Man, I appreciate you. Let me, Cesario, parting, you got the final word, Cesario. What you got?
Well, just back to Trump stuff. I mean, we have did you I don't know if I mentioned this to you before about the 1965 Western. I don't remember the name of it. The guy was the character was a guy named Trump. He was a snake oil salesman, and he the I think the sheriff, somebody got the people against him, and they convicted him for being a snake oil salesman. I mean, there's just so many things that these guys plan, like Edward Barnett says, guys you never heard of, never see. They got to put a face. What Doctrines and Dogmas, the book by Albert Pike says, we need to supply. If the people need a hero, we need to supply them one. So when these guys do stuff, they plan the future. They don't predict the future. That's not true. They don't predict anything. They plan it, and then they implement their plan. And then when they tell us years ago that things are going to happen, like say the fake buildings coming down by planes, or how the Simpsons, a cartoon, predicted it. No, they didn't. They implemented their plan. That's what it is. That's what happened. These guys are all actors. We know that. Edward Barnett says they got to put a face. And so when things go wrong, we blame somebody. When things go right, we call them heroes. But the people that are running the show, they're innocent. They're laughing at us. We fight against each other. We call each other names. We argue. We want to kill each other, but we're not the enemy. We're of each other. They want us to they want us to be the enemies of each other, so we don't focus on them. Like when the cops come to our pull us over and stuff, and right away we want to fight against cops. They want to kill us. We want to kill them. That's not the real fight, but they want it to be there because the cop is paid to do those things. So that's all he knows. And so our natural response is to fight, and their natural response is to be protected. So it's really sad. It's really sad the state of mind we're in by, the psychosis, mass psychosis, right? Right, Brian?
Yeah, exactly. It is a mass formation psychosis. At least that's what it appears to me, because I'm not a psychological professor or anything like that. But let me end with what you just said, quoting Edward Bernays. If people don't know who Edward Bernays is or not familiar with it, he is the nephew or the great nephew of Sigmund Freud, and he is known as the father of public relations. He was hired by the government to do a lot of things, including for the tobacco industry, to increase sales for the tobacco industry. And he said, the conscious and intelligent manipulations of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in what he calls a democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. Now, I'm not going to read the rest of this, but that's kind of the tenor of the way I want to close this, because Zelensky and Trump and JD Vance and Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, all these people are controlled by powers that we have never seen. We don't know what their names are. We don't know how much money they got in their bank account. We got mainstream, fake stream media telling us constantly that the richest guy in the world is Elon Musk. Elon Musk doesn't even have control of $1 trillion in resources, but the Rothschilds, on the other hand, probably have tens of trillions of dollars. BlackRock is in command of $11.9 trillion. Elon Musk, I doubt a person that we know is the richest person in the world. And I said all that to say this: we all have a perspective on truth, and we all believe that what the truth is the way it's presented, but there are different perspectives to truth that really, if you think about it, it humbles you and it opens your mind to the thing that you thought, or at least once thought, was objective truth. Like this shape right here. If you're looking at it from this angle, it's a circle. If you're just looking at it from this angle, it's a square. From above, it's a triangle. There's another one where you can actually look at it from two other angles. My point is this: when you think you've got all the truth, maintain a posture of humility and open-mindedness, not to the point where your brains fall out, but to the point where you can be corrected on your trajectory. Because let's face it, we're all on a journey. We know it's wrong to ever initiate violence on peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong. We know nobody's got a higher claim over our life and property than us. And if we all live within that purview of doing to others what we would want done to them, maybe we could have a better United States a better world. So I appreciate everybody joining. I got to run because my bladder's about to bust, but I appreciate you guys being here. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next live stream. Take care.